Okay, let me make sure it connects. All right. Okay, we live. All right. So, how you guys doing? I know we come up on the stream on my Facebook channel and YouTube. So, my name is Eric. I am accompanied by two fellow gentlemen here that are of a sound mind and body. So, I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'll go first.
All right, Jeff.
I'm Jeff Carroll. I'm a science fiction writer and filmmaker and comic book creator, hailing out of South Florida and from New Jersey.
I'm Gus Vasquez, comic book artist. I do a bunch of other things, but mainly I'm a comic book artist.
Nice.
And I grew up in Brooklyn, Coney Island, and am now residing in upstate New York.
Nice. So some of you guys should know me. If you don't, my name is Eric Sheffield. I went to actually a con that Jeff had hosted a few years back in Florida. So a creator of Edge Comics as well. So I do comics and T-shirts and stuff like that. So we're basically getting on today just to cover some of the stuff that's been going on in Minneapolis, right? So I know you guys have seen the videos. We've seen the comments on many different Facebook posts about what happened to Renee Good and Keith Porter. And I know Keith Porter is, I don't want to use the wrong term. It's basically a subject that not too people are aware of. So we're just going to try and draw some attention to what's going on with what happened to him. And then, you know, the week following, I'll do some more research because I don't have all the facts right now. So I don't want to say stuff that's not true, but I do want to draw attention to what happened to him because he has a daughter that has to go fund me. She's a college student right now, so she needs some support. So I did talk to her actually earlier today, got her okay to post up the GoFundMe for her dad, the actual right account, so you guys can look at that, link to that, and leave her some money to help her out in this tragic situation. So I'll just start out by saying, you know, we all saw what happened to Renee Good, and many conflicting takes on it besides of the video evidence. And I'll let these guys, they'll get into it as well. So I'll just start out by saying that I struggle with people that can see the video and still say that it was okay for her to be shot in the face. For me, you have to be lacking humanity and empathy in general to think that that's okay. And not just, this is not an isolated incident, because let me be clear, they have done this again.
Well,
and
we got
get what's up.
I said you got the one New Year's Eve, the one we connected to. So there you have it.
Yeah, I mean, Keith Porter, you know, again, he was, you know, regardless on what you think about Connie, according to what I've read, he was shooting into the air on New Year's Eve. An off-duty ICE officer claims that he heard the gunshots close to his house. He came out to investigate it, and he ended up shooting Mr. Porter. Now, as far as if we're going to make the argument that, hey, he shouldn't have been shooting in the air with a gun, whatever, I don't know what the laws are on that specific county that he was living in. But I will say this, that ICE agents are not police officers. Their job isn't to police law-abiding American citizens. So the fact that he took it upon himself, again, for me, just learning about this the past couple of days, the fact that he took it upon himself to investigate that instead of calling the real police is a problem for me. But when you're dealing with an organization of people that have been told that they have immunity to do whatever they want, you know, while they're doing their legal operations, this is the kind of result that you have. So I just wanted to touch on that. We are going to touch on his situation a little bit more because we do have his GoFundMe up. But the big one is Renee Good. So I'll start out with Gus. So Gus, when you see what happened, man, and you see the video, and you know, you're obviously, you know, very well outspoken about the way you feel about things. When you see that video and someone comes on your account or your post that you made and tells you that, well, she deserved to get it because her wife pissed off Jonathan Ross, or she shouldn't have been there, or why wasn't she at school with her kids, or whatever. You know, I've heard a whole lot of crap. I'm sure you have too, man.
Oh no, there's a lot of justification.
How do you address that, man? And what do you feel is the psychology of people that think like that?
I mean, unfortunately, I think it all comes down to political sides. You know, in the last, I mean, really since Obama got elected, We've kind of gone downhill in a racial struggle. Um, there were a lot of people who, like first of all, incorrectly attribute the whole birther thing with him to Donald Trump when it was really Hillary Clinton that started that whole thing. And then Donald Trump took it on, to be his personal battle. And then, you can't deny that he's and I'm not saying, whether it's good or bad, but he definitely has a lot of charisma, and him coming from the television world, people just took to it because he was an outsider,
Right.
And people got tired of government. Our government has been working for us for a very, very, very long time. If you're not, not only the right skin color, but in the right class, and so, with the amount of vitriol that has gone on between both parties, left and right, it's like for a long time you heard, leftists go, hey, let's try to have civil conversation, and I don't know, is swearing a thing that you do normally on this?
Oh man, no, go ahead. Well,
All right. So then, the right would be like, fuck that, fuck you, and it's like, yeah, but we're just trying to have civil discourse, and then it went back to the other side. And just the vitriol got so bad that I think in both cases, and I really do, one side is, whether I believe that one side is better than the other or not, both people on both sides really have just gotten so angry that they don't care how they talk to people and how they receive information anymore. And so you'll get the fuck yous from the left and you'll get the fuck yous from the right. Like there's, so many people I know have on the left have, and I have as well, not so much lately, but definitely around the first election of Donald Trump, let go of people because they were, in opposition to my beliefs, you know. But I'm also a believer of don't give up on people, give people a chance to change. And the more you speak out and the more information they get, there's a possibility of it. I get a lot of questions. Trust me, so many messages from friends of mine like, why are you friends with that person? Why do you still talk to that person? And I'm like, look, I know that person on a deeper level, and I feel that if I keep giving information, there's a possibility of them switching sides, or opening their mind. So I'm not as quick to let people go. I'm more apt to do that if I don't really know them. But with the vitriol that comes my way, I, I try to listen. I try to offer information as opposed to instead of just straight out arguing, because people don't listen to anger. And the calmer you are, the more chance you have of them actually listening to you. So that's my approach.
So how do you, when you're talking about, given with her situation, what happened to her, like I don't like how you're a little bit more level headed than I am in that instance, and I'll say only because like I tend to go back and forth with some people for a while now.
I mean, I do it too. I just don't do that on my page.
Yeah. I think I got to the point, man, where I kind of had to figure out that I kind of had to draw a line, because we're not talking about now we're in a Democrat versus Republican debate. We are in a humanities debate right now. I can, even with perfect example, I can look at the whole Charlie Kirk thing. I didn't know Charlie Kirk. I didn't watch a lot of his stuff. He became a little bit more apparent when he got killed, right? But I can say, hey, this guy, his views were racist as hell. The stuff he said was something that I would never agree with, but it's fucked up for him to get shot. Like
absolutely. I mean, I got a lot of shit for saying that. A lot of people are like, fuck him, he deserved it. I'm like, see, that's the problem. When you say, my thing is like, when you open up that discussion, like this one deserves it. And I said this when Charlie Kirk, I've said it before, but I specifically remember mentioning it when Charlie Kirk died. I'm like, the problem is when you open that discussion up to like, he deserved it, then you open it up to anybody deserving it, no matter what side you're on. It's like, if I disagree with you, then I have the right to kill you. And that's just not how things work. They're not supposed to work in this country anyway.
Yeah. But then but then that's what I'm saying. It's not equal, because you get the other side. They tend to, they don't have the same outlook. You know what I mean? They don't have the same tact. And so when you see someone saying something about, she deserved it, despite all the video evidence, and everything like that, man. How does that make you feel about the person that's engaging and saying those type of things? And I'll ask Jeff right after that, because to me, I kind of feel like at first I thought that I could talk to them and say, hey, man, you know, and we would come to some type of agreement. But I see a lot now, man. I think they're even more empowered in their idiocy to say, hey, I don't have to listen to anyone. This is what I think it is, regardless of the facts, you know. And we've heard the don't believe your lying eyes shit. Even now they're pulling it.
See, it's interesting because, like you said, you don't believe that it's political, but if you look at the people who say that, they're on one side of the spectrum. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're probably, from what I've seen, this is only my experience, but mostly on the right, mostly MAGA. You know, and the Democrats and independents, whatever, people on the left, you know, feel they see the video the other way. They see the whole situation the other way. So it is political, and I think that the political um, environment that we find ourselves in, depending on what side of the line you are, the more you feel one way or the other. You know, like when Charlie Kirk died, it was mostly people on the left going, fuck him, he deserved to die. And people on the right going, where's your compassion? And now that Erica Good is dead, you see people on the right going, fuck her, she deserved to die. And people on the left going, where's your compassion? You know what I mean? So I think it is political. I think, unfortunately, the political sides have blended into people's personalities.
How do you feel about it, Jeff? How do you feel, man?
Okay, well, I'll take the first part, right?
Okay.
Where you say, how do I feel with people that can actually say she tried to hit the police officer or tried to hit the ICE officer? I have friends. Well, one of my illustrators was caught up in QAnon, and a lot of people don't know what QAnon is. QAnon was believing that Michelle Obama was born a man. It's beyond birther, and they believed a lot of conspiracy. Democrats are eating children, right? These weren't just little small things, right? This isn't just the truth on 9/11. And when you say Obama, I say it started around 9/11. I grew up as a conspiracy theorist. But my conspiracies were Jesus is black and Columbus didn't discover America. Now, I still believe Jesus is black. I don't care what, you know, Michelangelo painting says. I don't think he's white, right? And I also know now, we all know that Columbus didn't discover America. But for the large majority of black history, up until, say, the internet and TikTok, black history was a conspiracy theory because it was different than what we were taught in school. And then after 9/11, you started having a lot more conspiracy theories because it was the first time that the government actually lied to us in our faces in, I guess, in modern time. There were no weapons of mass destruction. Buildings were collapsing that didn't even get hit by planes. You know what I'm saying? And they just hit it. And like you saw another video after people, like I saw it live. You know what I'm saying? So when I saw it live, it was different. The few weeks after I saw it, I said, well, wait a minute. What happened to that video that I remember seeing? So for me, I had a healthy relationship with the government and their lie capabilities. But some people, like this illustrator of mine, I'm going to say he's still in his 30s. I don't think he's 40 yet. So he was very young when those things happened. So his distrust amplified. Now that's one person. I have a brother, a god brother, who I actually had to unfriend because he was a flat earther. He is a flat earther.
And I know a couple of those.
I made a rule because I'm of the Malcolm X tribe, right? I believe that you're asleep and I can present you with enough facts that I can wake you up. And I've done that to a lot of friends of mine. We would talk, we would have these 5%er ciphers, and we would open up each other's mind the same way Malcolm opened up his mind, right? And that does work. But now we're at a whole new level. And like flat earthers, I just be like, you know what? I'm going to just say your confusion is terminal. You know what I'm saying? And maybe we can save your children or the people around you. If we can quarantine you, isolate you, don't let you talk, because when they start to show you videos and say there's two sons, what do? You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
like, I understand the government can lie. You understand what I'm saying? But just because they're lying about, or they're trying to lie about the direction and trajectory of her her Honda, doesn't mean they're lying about everything. Just
Mhm.
because they lied to us about 9/11 doesn't mean the earth is flat. You
Right.
understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's levels to the confusion. So to me, when I talk to somebody, depending on how deep they go, I either continue or pause. Especially if somebody starts cursing and they say, "You liberals," and I'll be like, "My man, I'm not even a liberal.
Right.
Mhm.
I'm what liberals believe in. I'm black." So for a white person to believe black people deserve equality, black and brown people, that's a liberal cause. So by nature, I'm liberal. You understand? But
Mhm.
that doesn't mean I agree with everything that liberals agree with. You
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
understand
of
what I'm
course.
saying? So again, when it comes to those people, unless they are really flat earthers. QAnon, like my friend that was a QAnon, he actually went to get therapy, and
Mhm.
he's a lot better, because that was out of control. Unfortunately, they topped out.
Mhm.
Or they get violent and they want to say that you're a liberal and you're to blame for all of the problems in the world. I can't talk to people like that. I will
Mm.
block you, unfriend you, and keep it. If you can have a healthy conversation, and there's, even if we can agree to disagree, right? That's I'm like, you me when they do that, I'd be like, I proved you wrong. You just don't want to admit it, you know.
Yeah.
But let's agree to
Well,
disagree.
also, some people don't have the capacity to keep a conversation going.
Yeah,
And 9 times out of 10 it's because they're not informed.
yeah. Or I
Mhm.
also look at some people like, I remember when I first started having conversations on Facebook, in particular, everybody has a name and everybody has a picture. But when you see people in real life, people have a height, people have a demeanor,
Mhm.
people have more of an age. Like, I don't present my age.
Mhm.
And when I'm talking to people, I realize I met one of these guys at a convention. I was like, "You're 20, what? Why
Right.
am I?" You're talking to an
Yeah.
elder. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Fall back, young man. You can go crazy wild cursing on your Xbox and your PlayStation, but when we're talking online, I have years of experience. So the other question you had, right? What do I think about Charlie Kirk
Kurt.
and
Yeah.
Renee getting killed? And I'm gonna put Keith in another category, because Renee was actually with her girlfriend. They were doing citizen patrol,
Okay. Let
right?
me put a
They
picture up.
were
You're
they
talking.
were they were on their block patrolling a ICE invasion. Okay, and
Okay.
that's what I feel good citizens should do, right? And you're allowed to scream at the cops, whatever you can see. Like, when police brutality was going on in the black community, I
Mhm.
had no problem with people pulling out their camera phones saying, "Yo, you're still on his neck. Get off his neck, you punk motherfucker. Yo, you wouldn't do that. You killing him. You whatever you can verbally assault this person with to
Mhm.
get them to think immediately, that to me is fine. You understand what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That
Absolutely.
to me is fine. If they don't have, but we know the ICE don't have thick enough skin for that, because that's why they cover their faces and other things.
Right.
Boom. And then when Charlie Kirk, I just think, I have been a protester, right? There was a kid shot 4 blocks from my house in the back by a white police officer, black kid. And I actually was the one that called in Reverend Sharpton. This was in 1990. We marched for 5 years. I
Yeah.
helped I helped coordinate 36 official marches, every type of march you can imagine. And before we marched, we prayed. We also knew our risks. Everybody has seen Eyes on the Prize. They weren't breaking out the water hoses anymore, but you knew you were agitating the system. And whatever that meant, you could become a victim of the angry system, whatever that
Absolutely.
meant. And I feel that sometimes, and I'm black, right? So Eyes on the Prize is a black
Wait,
revolutionary story.
you're black?
Right,
Keep
right.
doing this.
In good lighting, I bronze up. But so we always knew as black people our level of protest wasn't the same as white people's level of protest. And white people's level of protest, they can push and kick the police officer and didn't think anything was going to happen to them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, these ICE are not all white, and they are
That's true.
jaded. They are jaded. So that white privilege is so threatened. Most of them are scared, like Elon Musk, of becoming a minority. And they feel that they will be rallied up like they're doing us because they've oppressed us for so long that we will turn around and do the same thing to them that they did to us. So that's their fear. We can't let these minorities take over this city or this country. And the black and brown people that's caught up in it, many of them are confused themselves and they take advantage of it. So I'll say that to say to Charlie Kirk, you can't advocate harsh violence and not be prepared to deal with it when it comes back. There's a reason why Martin Luther King marched and presented himself peacefully. He knew his people were not the Black Panthers. You understand what I'm saying? He knew his people needed to present a Gandhi type presence. We're going to be peaceful because if you go out there and you talking, with guns like the Black Panther, you better be ready and trained to shoot your gun back because you can provoke that type of energy. And I think Charlie Kirk was wild with the mouth. He was
Mhm.
wild with it. He was saying wild,
I don't disagree with that.
and
Sometimes,
I say this. Hold on, I'm gonna say it's like
yeah, yeah.
when we told the kid that got shot on my block was 16. He had 2 years of friends that was 17, 15. Some of them was 18, and some of them was 14. So we had a lot of kids that were marching with us, and we said, look, all these police officers are human. I don't want anybody to become a victim of the anger of one of these police officers. And they're stupid already because they're racist. And racism is a intellectual deficiency, right? At least that's what I believe.
Okay.
So you've got to be extra careful when you're walking around. Like we talked earlier, you don't want to walk through the projects because you know there's crazy people there. You might be very sane. It may be you might not be doing anything, but these racist cops are scared. That's why they shot Eric Brown. I think I may be getting the names wrong, but there's so many people like they shot Philando Castillo with the camera on. These guys don't have guns and pulled out or doing anything. They just are so scared. That's why they do it. But go ahead.
Oh no, I mean on that point, it's unfortunate, but since really since black people have been in the country, there's just a level of um, fear that society has put on them, so that
Hmm.
it's that old, whenever a black kid gets shot, they always or even gets arrested, they always treat him as older.
Hmm.
They talk
They
about
call
them
him
as
as a
older,
man. They call him a man.
or not even a man, not always just a man, but they'll just be like, oh, this person, that person,
Hmm.
and then whenever it's a white kid, they're like, oh, this kid had so much potential,
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate, but when they grab up people of color, they automatically go to their, as they did with Renee Good, they go into their history, like this is what they're about, this is what they've done, this is who they are, and this is why you should be afraid of them, and it's all justification as to why they did what they did.
Yep.
um, it's really unfortunate. To the Charlie Kirk thing, I'll just go back one more time really quickly.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No matter what he said or what he did, I don't think he should have been assassinated. That's just,
I'm
you
and,
know,
and
there.
and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that either. All
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
all I'm
Was
saying
I
is,
sad that he died? Not really.
or I'm saying
But I don't
it's
think it was in the hands of a citizen to go ahead and do that.
no, what I'm saying is also when you walk around crazy people, right? It's you have to know your environment. You understand what I'm saying? I'm
Oh
not.
no, I
I'm
don't
not.
disagree. Like,
I'm not messing with Mike Tyson, especially
yeah, yeah.
when he's drunk. And if
I mean, if somebody wants to give me $3 million to get in the ring, I'll do it. But
you
Yeah, yeah,
you
you're gonna take that ass
you
for
know
3
your
million, man.
risk, right? And if you go
I
in,
go in knowing the risk. Absolutely.
right, and see,
Yeah.
I think that's what is missing with the Charlie Kirk thing. He talked different than Malcolm X or Dr. King, right? He talked he supported violence. He supported other people getting killed. He was on the wrong side of Floyd, George Floyd.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
absolutely.
And I'm
Yeah.
saying you don't understand. George Floyd got
But
family
he
that
knew what he was getting into, and that's it.
right.
That's the
That's
thing is
why
Charlie Kirk did know.
right, and that's why I feel different from him than say Keith. So from him than say other people because again, you live you get back what you put out. You putting out tough
Yeah,
violence.
that's
You
true.
putting out you talking wild from the mouth. It's gonna
Yeah.
come back. You know, and I feel sorry. Nobody has the right to kill anybody, but that's why you watch what you say.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, anybody goes into look. I think in general, if you go into a public situation, you're opening yourself up to danger. No matter what you do, musicians, writers, actors, like because there are crazy people out there who will see what you do and make up their own mind about what they want to do.
If you call
Just
the
being in the
crazy
public eye,
people,
you open yourself up to that.
if you call the crazy
So
people crazy, if look, Donald Trump is doing different things than Barack Obama did. He's
oh yeah, for
calling these
sure,
countries shithole countries, right? If they do something to him, that's different than if they were to do somebody was to do something different, violent to Barack Obama.
for
Barack
sure.
Obama isn't talking wild like that. And like I said, every protester isn't a Charlie Kirk. He talks wild from everybody don't advocate violence.
Hmm.
These guys do.
Yeah.
So when they meet their end violently, that's because they advocated it. It's not the
Hmm.
same as you or me or other people who actually even go beyond that and have sympathy. Donald Trump says, I don't even have sympathy.
Yeah,
Oh
he
yeah,
did.
for sure.
You
Yeah,
understand? And the
Yeah.
people are living there, their relatives. You get seen in the street by somebody that loves somebody and you was talking junk wildly about their death.
Yeah.
There's a saying, it's like saying you asked for it.
I
It's
mean,
like
I
you
think
asked for it.
I think people have. I think one thing that, and I know this for a fact because I've talked to people on the right about it. Um, there are a lot of people who feel, at least initially when he first got elected in the first term,
Trump.
that they voted for Trump, that they voted for him because he said what he felt, like he
Right,
wasn't afraid to speak his mind, and
right. They
it
were
was a
tired of
lot of
politicians
shit was that
lying.
it was a lot of shit that people wanted to say that felt like they couldn't say, and now they felt like they had permission because the guy running the country was saying it. And
yeah.
I think that's what gave a lot of people their what's the word I'm looking for? Uh,
Chutzpah, whatever that.
yeah, I think basically, it gave them the incentive to start going ahead and saying that stuff out loud too.
Oh, they
You
feel
know,
more power now.
Yeah,
they felt empowered. That's the word that I was looking for.
here's the
You
other
know,
thing. Like you're saying, right? We had this character in the 70s called Archie Bunker, right?
Mhm.
And Archie Bunker said, look at the little retard. You're a little retard. That's the same thing Donald Trump does.
yeah.
There's a lot of people that look down
That's
on
true,
nice.
man.
There's,
That's a
there's a
good
The
lot
one.
of people
difference,
that look down on nice people, right? So
yeah,
I have a habit of finding the polite and respectful way to say, hey, you might not be attractive, right? Some people feel that's weak. Just say he's ugly. And to me, that's disrespectful.
yeah,
So those are the ideological differences that some people felt they embraced about Donald Trump. Yeah, we
yeah,
feel that the immigrants come to America because America's a better place. And they feel, but we don't have to say that your place ain't shit. You
Mhm.
hmm,
understand? I
yeah, yeah,
live down here in Miami. You don't have to tell people from Haiti that Haiti is not a desirable place right now, but it's not shit. It's just going through hard times.
yeah,
So some people would call it shit. That to me is disrespectful. Some
yeah,
people like to think that that is empowering, and they run around like Archie Bunker and just say, blatantly disrespectful things.
Yeah.
And I think it's sugarcoating it to say that he was just free with his mouth. Your mouth is free both ways. You can say positive things too. Freedom of speech doesn't just exist for negative things. And
Oh no, of course.
all he says is negative. It's just like people who like haters, because some people are gravitated to that negativity, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, two things. Archie Bunker, number one, to go back to that. I love that show because it actually was making fun of people like Archie Bunker.
Absolutely,
Like,
absolutely.
you know, the problem with problem with Trump alone and a lot of people that follow him is they actually believe that stuff, you know, and they want to be taken seriously. Whereas Archie Bunker was made to put a light on the ridiculous behavior of white people, you
Yes,
know, to people of color and to show how ridiculous it was.
Right.
yes.
Um, you know, the other oh shit, what were you just saying? The other thing you were talking about, just your last point.
Don't worry, I'm old. I'm not gonna remember.
Um, damn, I had a point to
It'll
make.
come back around. Listen,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got a notebook, so I try not to forget what I.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm old, but not that old. You
Oh
still got a
no,
few years on me.
it helps me be efficient in the aging
Yeah.
process. But
Well,
Um.
I will ask both you guys this, man, because
Yeah.
I don't want to, you know, I do want to make sure we, at least like you said, because you both of you guys brought up pretty good points about the psychology of people leading into what we have now,
yeah,
which is just horrible, you know, Gestapo, wannabe Nazi
It's
administration.
Gustavo, not Gestapo. No, I'm kidding. I'm just
Okay. Yeah, you
well,
know,
so to that point, right? So,
I remember what
you
I was.
know, with Erica Good, right? Um,
Renee
damn, I
Good.
forgot. I forgot again.
Renee
Renee
Good.
Good. I'm
No,
sorry.
so
Go
one of
ahead.
the things that I was saying at the end was, you know, there are freedom of speech or free mouth
Hmm.
works both ways. It works to compliment people
Mhm.
and to criticize people, to give them
Yeah.
the blatant truth. And truth can be good and truth can be bad. And
Yeah.
people just like hating, you
The
know what I
problem
mean?
with truth, though, is everybody has their own belief in what that is. You know,
Until
it's
we
not.
see
It's not
until we
always
see the
necessarily
cell
the
phone
truth.
video. Until we
You
see the
know, it's
cell phone videos, then
yeah,
that's
yeah, no,
you.
absolutely, no, absolutely. But even then, see, but this is the thing. Even then, people will find a justification. They'll find their own side to what their truth is because
Mhm.
we've watched the video now from several angles, and each angle, if you really look at, I've watched. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've seen the video from different angles in regular speed and in slow motion, and there's no denying he did not get hit by the car. Jonathan Ross did not get hit by the car and Erica Renee Good was turning the wheel away from him when it happened.
And
Mhm.
the
That's
third thing
it's
is it
indisputable.
doesn't
The
cause
problem
none of
is
that is a cause for shooting and killing somebody.
right, but the problem is what people think politically and what they think about the other side changes their view on how they see that video. Like no matter how many times you show them the video, they're like, "Oh, she still hit him." It's like, but your eyes are literally telling you a different thing, and your ideology is telling you to combat that and say something else.
Right.
You know, so that and that's what I mean by like the truth is still dependent on like how you feel. There's that old saying like there's what you believe, there's what somebody else believes, and then there's the truth. You
Mhm.
know, and usually the truth lies in the middle of that, but it's still not always the truth to each person. You know, and it's just really sad that people have let their politics and their feelings about the other side, you
Mhm.
know, distinguish what the truth actually is.
You
But
know,
let me ask you guys something, both of you guys. Do you feel
Mhm.
like because of this situation, and like you said, Gus, we see the video from different angles. Um, you know, you would think that regardless of your political side that you fall on, again, you would see that and be like, hey, you know what? Wow, that was horrible. You know, that lady shouldn't have been shot. There was a way to avoid that. You know, when I see people in my comments that, and this just is for me, we've been dealing with this for a while since the last time he was in office, right? And I think
Mhm.
one of the reasons we got to this point was because people weren't allowed to call a thing a thing. Now I know you both remember that when they first started running, I never heard of anything about alternative facts until they said it. You know, so it's like alternative facts. What the hell you mean, a lie?
Right,
You know what I mean? And then, and then people will take that and be like, oh yes, alternative facts. Like, no, it's a fucking lie. You can't tell me I see something and my eyes are lying to me that's not the truth. And so I think of, and I know at the time too, you still had Joy Reid on her show, you still had Dom Lemon on his show, and at the time, while he was, they were talking about Trump and whatever, everything he was doing in his first term. After that happened, and like for example, Don Lemon wasn't there anymore. I remember him saying that they were specifically told that they can't say that they are lying. They're not allowed to say they are lying about this. And so I think when you let Cuba. So when you let that information keep being put out, regardless of it being true or not, and people, it's like you're feeding someone shit and tell them it's like turkey or something like that, and you keep feeding them shit, and eventually to the people that don't have critical thinking, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, this shit tastes good, it tastes like turkey, or you got other people that are like, no, it's still shit.
Right.
Well, you also have to understand that I don't want to say most people, but a good majority of people watch their side of the news. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm sorry, but liberal news is just as bad as conservative news. Like,
okay, can I put a pause on that for a second? I happen to be a Gemini, right? And as a Gemini, I have been seeing both sides of argument all along, right? And I am old enough to remember when Fox News wasn't much different from NBC, CBS, and CNN.
Yeah, when people told the news.
Right. And when Barack Obama was running for office, I was traveling around the country, and I started to see the emergence of, or not the emergence, the evaporation of right-wing talk radio, and those people starting to come on and working for Fox News. And I do think there are people, because I'm one of them, that search for the in-between, who search for the truth in whether it's Melissa Harris Perry, so like I know a lot of people like Joy Reid, right? And she used to go hard on Trump at the end of her run, right? But there were other people that felt that maybe she even went a little too far. You understand what I'm saying? I don't necessarily think that there's only right-wing radio and television and left.
No, of course not. I don't watch either one of them.
But I'm saying even in those shows, you can see the difference. I might say that Fox is more right than they are central, but I still
for sure. That's not even a question.
I still think there is central elements there, and I think more people look for that than just run to the polls of each side. You understand what I'm saying?
I don't know if I agree with that.
Right. And that's why I say I think, right? So I think that. I don't have any information to support it right now, but I still think that because I'm one of them. And I know my friendship circle, we're not transgenders need to be playing with girl sports. And that's a real left thing, right? And that's a lot of Black people. We support gay marriage, but we don't support transgender athletes. So that is a far left thing, but we still watch.
That's not a far left thing. That's just a left thing.
It is, to me, it's far left.
Because I'll tell you this. I'm far left. Like I'm much further left than most people. And it is, I actually consider myself a democratic socialist.
Right.
I'm not religious. I'm an atheist. Right. Like you said earlier, I believe that Jesus was Black. I don't believe Jesus existed. You know what I mean? Like that's so, like fair. I go even further.
If he did, right? I'll say if he.
Yeah, no.
There's no way he's white.
And this is my thing. The man in the story, definitely was not white.
Right.
I'll say that. Like
there we go.
Yeah. No, there's no dispute there. It's for me, it's whether or not he actually existed or not. But that's a whole different conversation.
Right. I'll say this. I think right wing are more monolithic than left wing is. because I think left wing
In terms of what?
in everything, right? In terms of their views, because I think and this might be a whole nother conversation, but I'll say this. When I start to look at the progression of liberation of black and brown people in this country, I do not see black people having racism before they got to America. I think that was a white European problem that we civilized them out of. And they all might have been maybe 80, 90% racist during the time of slavery. And we've slowly eroded them out of that to the point where it might be 50-50 now, or it might be 60-40, and the amount of minorities compensate for that to the point where it becomes a comparable thing. But I see a lot more progress in the ideologies of white people, because they were the ones that had the problem here in America.
See, this is where I have a bit of a problem with that.
Let's go.
Right?
Let's go.
So for instance, you're in Illinois, right?
Eric
I'm in Illinois, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, that's who I was talking to.
Yeah.
So for instance, back in October, there was a woman, Marimar Martinez, who got shot 5 times in her car by an ICE agent.
Okay. In
October of last year.
Yeah.
Right. It's only a few months ago. November, December, January, 3 months ago. Right. Some people talked about it, but was it as big as the Renee Good story?
Yeah.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is the problem that I try not to bring it back to race, but as a man of color, it's hard not to see, and not just being a man of color, but as open as I am to the world and seeing all different types of views, it's hard not to see the correlation between her getting shot. I mean, Marimar got shot 5 times in her car, right? And the cops, ICE agents afterwards were like, the guy that shot her was like, well, I shot her 5 times. She had 7 holes. Like, he was bragging about that shit.
Right.
You know? Yeah. And I'm like, that didn't become the national news story that it should. This is not the first time somebody's been shot by an ICE agent.
Right.
But it's the first time that a white woman got shot by an ICE agent and was killed. You know what I'm saying? And now it's a problem. Like, I literally watched a video on Instagram where this white girl came out and she was like, you know, now they're starting to shoot white women and we got to open our eyes. And it's like, why is it a problem now? The shit's been like, we've been talking about it for a while. Like, hey, we're getting shot, we're getting beat up. It's going to get to the point where it's going to get to you people. Yeah. Why does it have to get to you people for you to actually listen?
Remember the Black Lives Matter protests?
Yeah.
I was on a Star Trek panel, right? With I'm going to say Puerto Rican mixed person. And she lived in Central Florida, whereas, you know, at the time it wasn't as diverse. It's getting more and more diverse now. And she hit me to a page called Black Lives Splatter. It was a Facebook page. And on it, they had videos of people driving through the Black Lives Matter protests. None of that made the news.
Wow.
Okay. Until the Tiki marchers in Virginia, and they hit and killed a white girl. But these people all over America were not only bragging, they were posting their videos on a page called Black Lives Splatter.
Yeah, but this is my point.
Right. So I'm just
saying, my point.
To your point, yes, it is a problem, and it's been a problem because, again, and I'm pretty sure it goes all the way back to the 60s, the Freedom Riders, until them Jewish kids got beat up, they was beating up black people all along.
I mean, it goes back to the history of our country.
Right.
From the beginning. You know, some people, like you look at the Chinese population, you know, when they first came here, they treated the Chinese bad. When the Italians came, they treated them bad. When the Irish people came, they treated them bad. The only difference is none of them were black.
And they could change their names
and
blend right in, and you'd be like,
yeah.
I didn't even know all them people were Jewish in Hollywood.
Yeah.
They change their name and they blend right in.
Yeah. Like, you know, when we were talking about, for instance, like the news, right? I don't watch mainstream news anymore. I haven't watched the mainstream news probably in like 7 or 8 years. I'll check in on them. but both like what's MSN now, what used to be MSNBC, you
Right.
know, and Fox News, they're really just two sides of the same coin. It's like we're gonna tell this story on the left side of the coin, we're gonna tell this story on the right side of the coin. And yes, there are people on both networks that kind of run the middle and will just tell the news and tell it how it is. But that's far and few between, and most people don't watch those people because they're controversial.
Yeah.
I watch independent news and I check in on mainstream news to see what they're talking about because
Mm.
the people that I read and the people that I watch are more interested in just giving you the facts. Like there's this show that I watch. It's on YouTube. It's called Breaking Points. Right? They used to be on The Hill. Um, it's it's four people predominantly. They have two shows. You know, like one does I think Mondays and Thursdays. The other one does Tuesdays and whatever it is. It's alternating.
Mm.
Um, but each show has one Republican, one Democrat. Right? Actually, that's not even true. I think she started off that way, but she's more a Democratic socialist like I am. Um, but it's basically left side of the coin, right side of the coin. Let's talk for an hour, you know, and have debates where I like it because they're friends and they don't always agree, but they respect each other's opinions, you
Mm.
know, and they just kind of give the story. It's like these are and what I love about them is every day they're like, look, this is this is what I'm telling you, but you know how I feel about it. We're gonna post all the links. Go read it for yourself and go make your own decision. We're just giving you the two sides, you
Mm.
know. And I like it's healthy debate that we used to have. The problem with news, the mainstream news, sorry, number one, they're powered by corporations,
Right.
so they're gonna say what the people with the money want them to say. Like you even have Megan Kelly, who I think is a piece of shit, but even Megan Kelly was just on Tucker Carlson the other day, you know, and she's like, now I'm starting to question the things that I used to just agree with. You know, when I was over at Fox News, I was not allowed to think this or I was not allowed to do this. And now that I'm on my own, I'm questioning things
Mm.
because I no longer have those people like pushing down on me going, you can't say this or you have to say this. You know, even Tucker Carlson, like I'll give him credit. I don't like the guy, you know, but he's not like a broken clock where it's just twice a day. Now, you know, there's actually a lot of things that he will say that I'm like, you know what, I agree with that, or you know what, you're making me think about it. And
Mm.
you know, and you know, like you were talking earlier about like the news cycle, you know, like how Fox News was and all that. So all that started during the Iraq War, and it literally started because of CNN. So we used to get the news
Right.
primarily two times a day, in the morning and in the evening. CNN during the Iraq War started a 24-hour news cycle, and the other stations felt like they had to keep up, and they started their own 24-hour news cycles. The problem is the war ended, and in order to keep people engaged, they had to keep people mired in controversy. So then
Right.
what did it become? You know, it became about political sides, it became about race, it became about this, it became about that. You know, they're trying to keep that 24-hour news cycle alive. I don't know if you know this, but all of those stations, all of them, are down 50 to 75% of their viewership,
Hmm.
and they're all going towards independent news online because a lot of people are, even though they still have a side, they're tired of the, you know, we're good, they're bad. They want to hear another side of the story so that they can make more informed decisions.
Right.
So let me give you my take on the news, right? Um, I listen as much as I can to all news um, venues, right? Like I said, I used to listen to Air America. I used to listen
Mhm.
to Michael Savage. I studied, and I'm black, right? So I will say that I actually have no problem saying that I have a team and there's an opposition, right? So I won't say, racist words to them, but I will say that I'm on the other side of the team and there is an enemy, right? And I don't have no problem saying that. So there are people that actually don't like me, and they are what you
Well, I
would
got plenty of people that don't like me.
right. But I'm just saying, not just me personally, right? Not
Right.
me personally,
Yeah.
that have organizations that want to kill me, right?
Hmm.
Now, I don't equate the Black Panthers as an organization that hates white people. I don't equate the Nation
No,
of
of course
Islam
not.
as an organization that hates white people. They don't do that. But there are organizations that hate black people and want to kill them. I met the guy who was the movie American History X was inspired by, and he used to tell me they had an initiation to kill a person of color. You understand? Skinheads was a real organization. To me, there's no black equivalent to that, right? So let me take it back to the news. I actually don't believe that there is a thing called unbiased. I think when people try to be unbiased and paint the news a certain way, I think that is impossible because I think we have a bias that comes to us from, say, maybe aliens can be unbiased. You understand what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you as a parent will still be able to identify the perpetrator kid and the one that is being bullied. You understand what I'm saying? The one that's being cultivated and the one that is peer pressuring kids to do something bad, right? So for me, like I like NPR, right? Or Air America, right? They might have been free radio, right? NPR might be the closest thing that radio has to unbiased. So do you say she was unalived by the ICE agent, or do you say she was murdered by the white agent?
Well, you also have to understand that the reason people use code words is specifically because of social media. A lot of people get flagged for using the word murder or kill, and that's
Right.
why they use the word unalive, is because they'll get a lot of these people that have platforms that get funded will get defunded by platforms because of the words that they use.
And I'm aware of that because I can't send text messages now for a month. The FCC flagged my cell phone. But what I'm saying is,
oh damn, man. So I mean, I gotta cut you out of the chat right now, man. No,
well, no, I hit you on Facebook and I have WhatsApp.
You wasn't here,
dude. I am sure that I am being followed by people. Like I don't even think it's a question.
You have to expect it. But what I'm saying is, even within that, before that, to not use politically correct terms, because there's still a way to say she was intentionally unalived instead of just saying unalive. Because now what you're doing is when you know he intentionally two and third bullet was trying to kill her, you're taking away a truth that was a truth. If you know it, it's not saying I'm trying to be left wing or anything other wing. I'm just saying, look, he went to kill her. Now, if I got to find a polite way to say it on social media, I need to do that. But to say unalive, it takes the bias away from it, and that's not true either. Because
I mean, once again, I go back to why people say that.
But hold on. It is very much like when I used to watch Tiger Woods or
that motherfucker.
Who else was? I'm thinking of pioneers, the Williams sisters, right?
Yeah.
And we used to hear the commentators, the bias in their coverage. Oh, she's making too much noise. Didn't hear Arena Farrakova or whatever. She make the same grunt, but her grunt is this and that. She looks a little too muscular. All of these bias things. It made me. I pitched a television show where it was an NBA basketball game, and you had commentators who were fans of each of the teams because it wasn't somebody who's trying to sneak attack somebody. What do you think the Knicks got to do? Well, I'm a Knicks fan, so this is what the Knicks. And I love the fact that they're transparent with who they like now, because I can believe them. I can believe them more. I think in the newsroom, when they have shows that people are transparent with their personal bias, like a black person, you can't, we all gonna be black. You can see that. But with a white person, sometimes you need to tell us, well, are you a liberal, or how do you feel your values? Because then you speak from that. And now I can understand you better because I understand everybody has a bias.
Well, and this is why I watch Breaking, that show that I'm talking about, Breaking Point.
Right.
That's why I watch that, is because it's literally a Republican on one side, a person on the left on the other side. you know, and they debate. They're like, this is the news, and this is how I feel about it. You
Right.
know, I'm a Republican. This is how I feel about it. And the other person go, well, I disagree because of this, and this. But at the end of the day, we're attaching links. This is just the story. You can decide whether you fall on my side, whether you fall on his side, or whether you fall somewhere else. I like it because it's unbiased while being biased.
Mhm.
Right. And
You understand what I'm saying?
I would say it was equally biased. One of the things that I really wanted us to have is Phil Donahue show, Oprah Winfrey show, where you would have these different positions available because I also don't think everybody is either a Democrat or a Republican. I know I said that before, but there are people who are pushing those policies, and
Hmm.
the vast majority of people don't even vote. So those people who are in the middle need to see those two like a debate, working themselves
Yeah.
out, and they think for themselves. But and then there's people that aren't. You understand what I'm saying? Like I said, black people are conservative by culture. The
Hmm.
values that we have are conservative, but
Hmm.
we are a liberal cause. And that makes our dilemma. We are a liberal cause, but we are conservative by nature. Our values are
Hmm.
so. But that was kind of all I wanted to put out. But I find like
Yeah, I don't disagree with your last point at all.
I also find that people like Reverend Sharpton, I want to hear him. You know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
want to like when this went on. My wife is Dominican, so we purposely listen to Fox News, right? And we purposely tune in to Telemundo, right? Just to hear. And the commercials that they run on these Telemundo or these, I would say, immigrant-based news networks or just networks in general are out of control. They couldn't
Oh
they
yeah.
could run they couldn't run some of those commercials even if they were translated
Oh, dude.
into
I mean, I've traveled. You know, I've
okay,
traveled out of this country a bunch of times. Like,
right.
for instance, going to Mexico. I spent a week in Mexico.
Hmm.
Not the only time I've been there, but this specific time, spent a week in Mexico, and I was there for events, and other than the events, there was nothing to do. So I sat and I watched, TV, and I speak Spanish, so I was watching, or
Nice.
I understand it more than I speak it.
Right,
So,
right, right.
but still, I didn't have to talk to anybody, so I just watched.
Same here,
But I
right.
watched like Mexican news, and like, there's no fucking way Americans would be able to deal with Mexican news. Like they don't just talk about dead bodies in the street; they show the dead bodies in the street.
And
Mhm.
You know,
Mexico is savage like that. Like I had
yeah,
a
man.
similar
That's
experience
not
when I
even
went.
savage. It's just honest. It's like this is
That
what
was just
happened.
my adjective, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
No, but the only reason I picked up on it is because it's funny because our news is so charged, but at the same time it's so controlled in what we see and what we don't see, and so people have these feelings, but they don't really understand them a lot of the time.
Mhm.
You know, when you go to another country where they're actually showing you what's happening, people have a better sense of how they feel and why they feel it. You
now,
know, we are so desensitized. It's weird how like we're desensitized to a lot of things, but then they still treat us with kid gloves when it comes to adult things. Like, yo, people don't, like in Mexico when they hang people from a bridge, they show the people hanging from the bridge.
right.
You know,
And to me, I'll say that's savage. I'll say why I say that's savage because I had a similar experience when I went to Ghana. Right, I went to West Africa. I actually, of course, not much to do in certain parts where we were going into the countryside of Ghana. I actually sat there with my camcorder and taped the news. What was different between America and even Mexico, where I did the same thing when I was in Acapulco, right? Is that they presented good news. It was like I was like, does anybody get killed out here? Because their values were so. It was like a children's marathon. They were going to places. This had this happen. Every story was so good that I picked up on how negative American news is. Now I'll say this. Um, I have illustrators from all over the world, right? And sometimes we bond through talking about politics because, it's been America has been on fire ever since Barack Obama. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to know what's going on in America. So we'll talk. But the beautiful thing that we can do now is we can log on and see foreign news in its organic form. It's not just Al Jazeera Network, it's not just BBC, which are both different from American networks.
Mhm.
Now we can go and see what's going on in Burkina Faso. We can go on and see what's going on in Ethiopia. And, China and Japan is a little hard because we don't have real time translation, but that's around the corner. You understand what I'm saying? And Latin America is a little bit around the corner for Spanish to be translated. But we're going to get to that point. And if people do their diligence, you can see different perspectives now without traveling to these countries. Yeah, I mean, I was a school teacher.
Ray-Ban Meta glasses, you put them on, you can understand anything.
Shoot, we have Google Translate, and we have on some of the platforms they have closed captioning in different languages.
I was just
Yes.
posing the point that you can't listen in real time because you actually can.
And they
if you really want to.
They have the earbuds that translate.
Yeah, if you really want to, you can. I
Right.
mean, listen, the thing is that people who take a side, listen, I was a Democrat for the longest time.
You had to be.
And I would only watch MSNBC. You know what I mean? Like that was all I watched. And then I started meeting people who opened my eyes to, I don't even want to say reality. I'll just say a different perspective.
Mhm.
And because I'm inquisitive by nature, that's just who I am. Like I hated school, but I loved learning.
Right.
Like I got left back.
Like me, you need a good teacher like me.
Yeah, I got left back. No, it wasn't. I was interested in teachers who engaged me.
Right.
The problem was and I'm not tapping myself on the shoulder, man, but I would always finish lessons before most of the kids, in my class. And so I'd be sitting there drawing. The teacher's like, "Yeah, what are you doing? Why are you drawing?" I'm like, "Because I finished the lesson 20 minutes ago and I ain't got nothing to do."
Right.
And I got left back in junior high school. I got left back in ninth grade. My junior high went 7 to 9, not 6 to 8. So in ninth grade, I got left back because I cut school 76 times.
You weren't engaged.
But my scores were there.
Right.
My scores were there, but they legally couldn't pass me because almost 80 times I was gone from school.
You didn't have the credit.
You know what I mean?
Right. You didn't have the credit hours.
Yeah,
that's
and
the same
so
thing we have now.
And so I've always been an information sponge. I'm one of those kids that grew up with a third of an encyclopedia set in my house. Because we never could afford the whole set.
Yeah.
But anytime, for instance, I'm getting divorced now, but my ex-wife, she would say, "Hey, I have a question. Do you know about this?" And I go, "No, hold on a second." I would look it up. Because she's like, "Oh, you don't need to look it up." I'm like, "No, I don't know, so I'm gonna look it up just so I know."
Right.
I'll go to a store, man. I mean, and it's these are little things, but these are the way that I inform people. Like I'll go and I'll be like, "Hey, I can't find pickles. Where are the pickles?" And they'll be like, "Oh, I don't know." And they'll be like, "Oh, ask somebody else." So I'll go around the store and eventually I'll find the pickles. And then I'll walk around the store to find the person that I spoke to. And they go, "By the way, if anybody else asks for pickles, they're in aisle 6 on the bottom shelf."
Wow.
You know what I mean? But that's my way of informing them because they work there. They should know that stuff. And if I don't tell them, they already don't know. So probably somebody's not going to tell them either.
Yeah.
So it's those little things like going back to what you were saying, Eric. How I deal with people, how I stand, when people say things to me, that can be charged or whatever, they'll say things that try to demean me or try to demoralize me in any way, and what I do for the most part, I don't stand for disrespect. So if you get too crazy, I'm jumping in on your ass or I'm just deleting your shit. Like that's just how I am. But if you want to have respectful discussion and you're not calling people names, I'll talk to you all day.
Right.
And what I do is instead of combating them with, "You don't know this," because I'll look something up and I'll put, like today I posted it actually both on Facebook and Instagram, but ICE rules and what authority they have and what authority they don't have. So if they come to your house or they approach you in the street, this is what authority they have. This is the authority they don't have. And these are your rights and you should need to know them. And then going back to So I do stuff like that. And then, so for instance, people have been posting the rules of engagement with deadly what do they call it?
Oh, Deadly Force.
Right.
Deadly force,
Yeah.
right? And they're posting rules, but they're posting rules by the DOJ,
Right.
right? ICE isn't DOJ, they're DHS.
Right.
Okay, so the rules are different between DOJ and DHS. They're similar, but the DOJ actually has more definitive rules, whereas the DHS are a little looser.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so people are posting the DOJ stuff, and I'm like, this is good to know, but they're not cops. You have to understand that they're Department of Homeland Security. And you need to go to the Department of Homeland Security policy
Yeah.
to be able to know what rights they have and don't have. And
Right.
you know, people don't even go that far. You know, and so I'll post things like this. You know, they'll go, "Oh, if a law enforcement person tells you to stop, you need to stop." It's like, if they're ICE or they're a DHS agent, they have zero rights if you're a U.S. citizen. The only time that they actually can stop you is if they suspect you of an immigration violation, and even then, they need a warrant, a judicial warrant, not just a warrant. It has to be a judicial warrant signed by a judge. So it's like even then they don't have the rights that people think they have. They're just like, well, they're wearing a badge and a thing that says police. I have to stop. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Now, like
You know.
I tell people. And
Hold on one second.
Oh.
Let me just finish this point. I was going to say, it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Jeff, about like how people talk. You know, their free speech. It's like you have to understand that knowing your rights and knowing what authority they have or don't have over you, if you choose to not listen to them, you're also putting yourself in a situation
There you
because
go.
regardless of what the actual rules are, they don't care.
Right.
Right.
And so it depends. Like, you know, I was watching, there was a video, I don't know if you saw it, Eric, but I think it was it this morning? It might have been last night or this morning, but I posted a video of a man getting shot in the back who
Yeah.
the police said that, you know, he had a weapon and he turned around to fire at them. Meanwhile, dude was walking, now I will say that a few days prior, he had committed 2 crimes of armed robbery where he held people at gunpoint, right?
Right.
But this
However,
time,
when they stopped him, he was walking down the street and he turned around. Like, so in the video, you watch him, he's walking one way, and then you hear cops engage him and he's walking the other way. So he's walking down the street and he's talking to them and his arms are waving, like just walking down the street, you know, oh, don't stop me. What are you stopping me for? Nothing in his hand. Dude took one shot and just shot him in the back and killed him.
damn.
And if there wasn't somebody who had a home camera on their house, they would have just followed the police's story of dude had a weapon,
Yeah.
fired in defense. And the same thing with Renee Good. If there weren't so many people who had been videoing and that person who, you know, showed the angle from their ring cam, we would only have the one view,
Yeah.
you know. And so,
Yeah.
like when you look at Jonathan Ross's video, because that's his video,
Right. From his cell
of the
phone.
front of the car on the cell phone video. From the other videos, you see him walk from the back of the car around. He engages Renee's wife, and then he goes back into the front of the car. Right? People are like, "Well, she ran into him." First of all, let's get before that. Law enforcement rules tell you you're not supposed to put yourself in front of a car. So
Right.
already he's violating policy. So regardless of whether or not she tried to drive into him, that's strike one. You know,
Yeah.
and then if you actually watch the videos, yes, the first shot went through the windshield, but he was already on the side of the car when he shot that first shot, and then he just continued to shoot twice.
Yeah.
You know, and I've watched lawyers come on these shows and they're like, listen, as a defense lawyer, it would still be hard, but I might be able to defend the first shot. But the 2 shots from the side, there's no defending that because at that point you're out of risk, you know. And then listening to others go, well, not only that, but no other officer drew their weapon.
Yeah.
Not one other person drew their weapon.
No,
You know,
I will comment you on this. I'll go ahead. I'll let you finish your thought, man. I don't want to talk over
Yeah. No, and then obviously Trump, without having seen the video, came on and was like, "Oh yeah, that guy's lucky to be alive." It's like, did you watch the whole video? Because right after he shot her and called her a fucking bitch, he walked away, talking to other officers, walked to another car, got in the car, moved one out of the way, got in the other car, and drove away.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, he had
And
to
that's
go to the
where,
hospital for his
yeah.
defense to, you know, to be able to say like, oh, I went and got myself checked out. Of course,
Right.
smart thing to do legally,
Yeah.
but dude wasn't hurt in any way. Like when the sergeant came up on the scene, he was like, "Is anybody hurt?" And they said, "No, only the woman."
Right.
Nobody mentioned the shooter. You know,
Yeah.
there are so many things that, and this is, you know, going back, it's like there's so many things that you can see and hear with your own eyes. You know, like her waving. You know, they're like, "Oh, she was obstructing." It's like she waved the car by. Like a
Yeah.
car already went past. There was no reason they couldn't have gone.
Yeah.
You know, oh well, she should have listened to law enforcement. They told her to stop and get out of the car. They have no jurisdiction because she's not, number one, she's a citizen and she wasn't under investigation for an immigrant violation. So
Yep.
they have no jurisdiction. So it's just, you know, it's hard, man, because you know, it's like you can see this as well as I can. It's there's something that's preventing you from seeing it the way it actually happened. And it goes back to political
Well, and I'll come
bias.
you a little bit on that too, Gus, because
Mhm.
I do agree with what you were saying and what Jeff was saying. And for me, right now, I'm not to the point now where I'm just kind of like, you know, given this instance, we're talking about what happened in this video, right? You see the video from different angles, you see what happens, you know. Number one, it's like you okay, you guys, I'm gonna assume you guys have shotguns before, right? So have I, right?
Oh
So
yeah. I mean, I was in the military.
right, exactly. So I've
Not
never
me,
Yeah, I've definitely shot guns
but
before.
I shotgun at shooting range, but
yeah,
never,
Yeah, yeah.
never.
you never been in a shooting range with a cell phone and with your gun doing this shit, right? And so when you look at the video and you see number one, when he gets out of the car, immediately he goes, you know, he goes to the cell phone or whatever. And like Gus said, he did the walk around a vehicle after he got out of the car with his cell phone. And I find it hard to believe that when you tell people on national TV that it was a tactical exercise, so they have to you know, they're in a situation where something could supposedly happen, right? Why would you even get out of the car holding us? You don't have a body cam, you have a cell phone in
Right.
one hand and a gun in the other hand. First, that's bullshit, first of all.
Well, because you can edit cell phone footage.
Exactly. And that's probably why he did it. And then walking in front of the vehicle again, when I look at the history of this guy, this isn't the first time that he's done this.
Oh no, he got dragged 50 feet by. He got dragged for specifically 12 seconds by another driver.
Yeah. So this is what,
Yeah.
6 months ago. So he has a habit
Yeah,
of
5 months
stepping
ago.
out
Yeah.
in front of vehicles and
Mhm.
doing this. And then it's
Well,
like,
technically no, because he, in that situation, he actually busted out the back window and was trying to open
oh,
was
so
trying
the
to open the
last,
vehicle from the back,
Right.
and his arm
oh,
got caught, and
wow.
that's why he got dragged. So it wasn't. Yes, he has a history of uh, contacting vehicles and trying to do something, but the other one wasn't from.
Hold on. So guys, let me blow you up here, man. Expand on it a little bit so people see that they can understand, because I don't know too much about this last incident that he had. So you could expand on that.
Yeah, it was about 5 months ago. He was chasing someone, and from what I understand, this person was in violation of immigrant law.
Okay.
But he was chasing him, and he busted out the dude's back window and was reaching in to unlock. So I think it was like an SUV or something. So
Mhm.
you know, it was something that he had to like bust out and reach in to try and open it.
Okay.
And the person hit the gas, and he ended up, his arm got caught because it was a little higher. So when the guy hit the gas, he got dragged for 12 seconds. He actually had to have quite extensive surgery on his arm when it happened. So you know, for me, when I heard that story, I was like, number one, that's a trigger. Like this is the trigger. Um, and secondly, I think he also got triggered by was it Rachel? Good was Renee's wife, I think was her
Uh,
name.
yeah, I don't have her name, so I don't want to
I think
misquote.
her name is Rachel.
But
Okay.
the wife, right?
The wife, you know,
Yeah.
she was engaging with Jonathan Ross when you know he was going around the thing, you know, and she was like, "Why don't you go and get us a couple sandwiches, big boy?" I think that also, you know, got to his nerve. Honestly, like I think he was just like, you know, and then when, you know, look at the, I will give the possibility, just the possibility that he may have felt that his life was in danger when she started pulling forward, only because of the situation that had happened before where his life was actually in danger.
Mhm.
All right. I will give him the possibility of that. I don't believe it, but I leave myself open to that possibility. Okay. But ego definitely played into this.
Yeah.
Bravado of being told, that you can do whatever you want, nobody's going to do anything to you, played a lot into it. And another thing that I was going to say earlier is, a lot of people are putting the onus on Renee Good, for freaking out, whether she panicked, whether she was just trying to get away, whatever. They're like, oh, well, she should have listened to authorities and she should have done this and she should have done that. She's not the trained person in the situation.
Yeah.
Jonathan Ross was the trained person in the situation. And he wasn't one of those guys that just signed up, got the $50,000 bonus. He's a military vet. He's trained in combat. He's trained in how to do these things. For 10 years. He's got a 10 plus year record. He's the one trained to de-escalate. He's the one trained not to step in front of a vehicle. He's the one trained especially not to shoot at a moving vehicle. She's a mom. You know what I mean? This is probably the first, and this is me being assumptive, but probably the first dangerous situation Renee was ever in.
Right.
How is she supposed to have the wherewithal in the seconds that this happened to be able to distinguish what the right thing to do, what the wrong thing to do is? She's not a trained professional.
Yeah.
Like why are we able to go, well, he had to think in the moment. Well, why didn't she have to think in the moment?
Yeah.
She's never been in the situation. He's been in combat before. You know what I mean?
And I'll chime in on that, man, because you make a very good point. And I
wanted to jump in on something too. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So like what you were saying, yeah.
You have a notepad.
I think there's a there's a disconnect, because I don't think people are, looking at it, like you said, from her point of view, because when you're dealing with, an agent of that association in general that we know has done, fucked up things prior to this, right? Well, they've been told, we're in situations where they have been told they have total immunity to do whatever they want, regardless of DHS policy says this, and this, right? But they're like, yeah, well, that only, we're not going to pay attention to that. It's pretty much who we're dealing with, right?
Absolutely.
And so when you see something like that, so if I'm her and I'm like, hey, you saw there was no malice in what she said, she said, hey, man, I'm not even mad at you, as he's circling the vehicle and everything like that, as someone that hasn't been in a situation like that, as far as like she is concerned, you're a woman inside of a car surrounded by dudes that have masks on.
That have no authority over you.
And one dude comes up, he stops his vehicle, gets out of his vehicle, goes to your car, pulls on her door handle and tells you get the fuck out of the car. Okay. Now, at that point, you have only a couple choices. You either get the fuck out of the car, let them do whatever they're going to do, which is probably not good, or you try to flee the scene and get away, right?
Right, because we've seen how ICE handle situations when they pull people out of cars. They just beat the shit out of them.
Exactly. Right. So if you don't want that to happen, you're like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. So I don't think people are, and that's when I talk about earlier about no empathy. I'm at the point now, I'm not trying to understand these people anymore. It's just my inquisitive mind to say, hey, what makes you think that you can see that and you can't see things from her point of view, right? Because we've been told that we have to see things like that from everyone else's point of view when something happens. And mind you, I am going to bring this up. Mind you that, because I had a guy that constantly was putting stuff on my comments, talking about, well, she should have got out of the car. She shouldn't have done that and blah, blah, blah. She used her car as a weapon. Need I remind people that we all tend to forget because a lot of us have shorter attention spans when it comes to the news. You remember No Kings protest, right? What did Ron DeSantis tell people in Florida what's going to happen to them if they gathered around vehicles that, the drivers trying to get away? He told
people right through
over protesters. Okay.
Yep.
This is what he told them, the governor of the state. So they can't even be consistent in their own fuckery.
I mean, look at
that was okay. They laughed about it, right? They all laughed about it. We all saw videos. Yeah, run those protesters over, blah, blah, blah. Regardless of them being in a, in a life-threatening situation or not.
Yeah.
And so here, as far as I'm concerned, from this woman's point of view, for her, it is a life-threatening situation. Once the guy comes up to her car door and pulls on it. And
it's that, it's like she's looking at her wife deal with this guy coming around the car. Right. And then you got this other agent coming from this side. From what I understand, one witness has said that other officers were telling her to get out of here.
Right.
So she's hearing, get out of here, open your fucking door. And my wife is going, drive, baby, drive.
Right.
And then, so you start to drive, and suddenly the guy that was over here dealing with my wife is now in front of my car. So now I'm backing up and I'm driving this way while he's going this way. Like there were so many things happening. Like
Okay.
it's what I went back to, a second ago, is like, why is it that she, with all that stuff, her just being a normal citizen going on, why is she the one that has to think in the moment,
Okay.
this is
So
what I need to do, as opposed to the Jonathan Ross, who's, again, qualified,
let me
supposedly.
let me respond to both of your
Yeah,
points.
yeah, please.
Gus, you left off where I wanted to pick up a long time ago with training, right? Back to talk shows. One of the talk shows I used to love every once in a while was Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer used to set things up to the point where the couples would fight because he would
Yeah.
just show somebody was cheating and the baby, whatever. And they didn't have fights because they had a big security guard. His name was Steve. Steve ended up getting his own show.
Oh, yeah.
Steve said something so provocative at the time of the Eric Brown.
I think you mean profound.
Provocative and profound.
Okay.
Okay. Because remember when Eric Brown got shot, he was the kid that was walking towards the police officer or walking, he was a big black kid.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he was walking towards the police officer. It wasn't even running. And the police officer shot him. Steve said, officers, everybody human gets scared. But as a police officer or an officer, you're supposed to be trained to the point where you aren't scared by average things that average people are scared. It's like you're not Bruce Lee, but you're a better fighter than the average person. So what would scare the average person shouldn't scare you. And he said that they're hiring police, which now I think are ICE agents that are even less trained than these police officers who would shoot the people.
And they're definitely right. Do you know the time? Do you know the training time that they have?
I'm just know it's less. It's not important.
47 days.
Right. I'm just saying. I don't care.
I just wanted to jump in and say 47 days. Please continue.
To me, it's just as long as it's less, it's inadequate, and it shows whether it is the same length as the other one, it's ineffective, right? Because the test is how you perform in the streets on live, and they fail that because they get scared. Like if you ever seen a big guy, he's not scared when little guys is talking junk to him because he knows he can beat them. A police officer has a gun. They knew the girl didn't have
incorrectly.
Right, but I'm saying they knew the girl didn't have a weapon. He should not have been scared by that. Now, let me throw something else at you, okay? You, Eric, y'all were talking about the two types of reasons why people can't accept the facts, right? And I put them in two groups. The first group is I don't believe nobody can't accept the facts. That's my overall thing. They either don't accept it because they're part of the enemies. That's number one group. I don't expect Donald Trump to admit what I see that's out there. He's the damn slave master. They're not going to see it the way because they're part of the problem. They're perpetrating. There's people that don't see it because they're the Klan. The other people are people who work with the Klan. And they support it because they're confused about their identity. We have a thing called self-hating Negroes. Some people have been hurt by.
That's not just for the black community.
Oh
Trust me.
No.
Every community has a self-hater.
Right. Yeah. I mean, listen, there's girls that say, I'll never date a Dominican man, right? Because something happened to them. You know what I'm saying? There's lesbians, and I'm not trying to say, but there's some that will say, I'll never date a man because of something that happened to them. So we have trauma that is that triggers cognitive dissonance, right? And then the other thing that I was going to say is there's a thing on the explanation that you were that you were getting to before you got to training, Gus, of why she behaved the way she behaved. Yeah, she was getting conflicting information from the different officers and even her wife. But even outside of that, there's a thing called culture, values, morals. They say it all the time. I think T.K. Kirkland has a tag where he says, "Who raised you?" You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Black kids, especially in my generation, and not exclusive to Black people, because I think it was a lot of things. We were raised to be respectful of authorities. We
Oh, of
were
course.
raised to be respectful of adults. We were raised to be respectful of our parents.
But we
And
were
it's,
also
hold on.
raised to be respectful of authority, specifically for a different reason, which I'll get into
Yeah,
after
but
you make your point.
all of it, right? And that also overlapped to when we would go have our first overnight to our white friend's house. And then you go into jokes like Ari Spears, who says, "Damn, my white friends are really rude to their parents." You understand what I'm saying? They talk different to their parents than the way we talk to our parents.
Oh yeah.
And if you ever were that only Black kid in a car with white kids, when they got pulled over by the police, you were like, holy shit. If I ever talked to a police officer the way they talk to police officers, I would be in jail. And I think there was a little bit of that Renee had experienced. Sure, to your point, Eric, she had not been, what do you call it? In an environment like that before. But I also think her other environment was what I think fuels these Karens. The whole fuck around and find out is funny because people don't know that they can meet their maker. You understand what I'm saying? And they get up here and say all types of wild shit and they expect nobody to respond to them and they fuck around and they find out. Like I said, Dr. King didn't just tell people to not talk back to the police or when they were doing their protests. Reverend Sharpton did the same thing, and it was because these people, we were already, it's like you already are winning the battle because you're marching. And now you're going to give them a bailout by triggering them. So to me, it's a little bit of that, Gus. Yes, but she might be one of these people who felt that mommy, you're wrong. You understand what I'm saying? You never talk like that to your parents. And if you could talk like that to your parents, then how are you going to talk to authority? How are you going to respect authority? I'm just going to move. I'm putting my stuff over here. I know you told me to stop, but I'm just going to put, and they take their liberties with what authority. And I'm not saying she deserved to get killed. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just talking about the motives, or kind of trying to understand why she did what she did, because I do think, and there's another superhero, right? So I do think that she had different reasons why she did it. Now, there was another thing you made earlier, Eric, Gus, where why do we do these type of things, or how do we get away with these things, and knowing the rules, right? Yes, I know the rules. And I used to teach kids. We used to bring the police officers in to teach them how to behave when the police officers pull you over. But there was an awareness that the police would say their stuff and their report would almost be word as bond. Now we have an equalizer, and it's not the gun. It is the body cam. It is the cell phone.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It has to be there.
Right, what I'm saying, I remember when I was in college, before they even had body cams, I had a party in my room and they were harassing me, but I knew I didn't have my music up loud. And when the police came to my door, I had a camera, a Polaroid, and I had a tape recorder. I said, so guys, I just pushed record on the recorder. I just want to let you know, whatever you say to me is going to be recorded, and I want to take a picture of you guys. And they said, have a nice night. We'll talk to you later. You know what I'm saying? And even with that, you still have to realize that's a smart aleck. And now you have to walk the tight line because the moment they're going to get you, because you put a target on your back. So at some point, yeah, you need to be Rosa Parks, but you got to understand, Rosa Parks didn't just sit in the front of the bus. She had a plan. They had bail money set up. She had money set up for her to not lose her apartment. She had a system. So yes, we can teach people the rules and the regulations and the laws, but you also have to understand that that is just a basis. If
Yeah,
you
of course. I mean, the thing.
can't enforce it, it doesn't even mean anything.
No, no. The problem is for things are better, and
Yes.
when I say better, they're marginally better. They're not a whole lot better.
Yeah.
You see progress. It doesn't mean that everything's fixed.
Yeah. They don't
You
all
know,
go to jail. At least some of them is
no,
getting
well, the thing is that people still, whether they believe it or not, like in their head, whether they believe it or not, most people have this sense of where they stand in society. It may, it's not always a conscious thought. White people feel safe in this country for the most part, and people of color don't.
right.
And you have your exceptions. There's clearly exceptions, but the majority of people, like one thing I cannot stand when I hear, you know, um, I'll be watching a documentary, or I'm a crime junkie, and I love police procedure shows. Now I'm not talking about like, L.A. Law. I'm talking about like the actual like
Cold case
cameras
files.
following.
Cold
Yeah,
case files.
but
Yeah.
not even cold case. Like people like another 48 hours, like where they're actually following people in real time doing their job. You know, and I've watched people get shot. I've watched cops stand there with someone coming at them with a knife, being, please, please, don't make me do this. Don't make me do this. I don't want to shoot you. Please stop. Put it down. Put it down. And then they shoot and kill the guy. And immediately after, they're traumatized. And someone comes out and they have to be like, all right, we're going to take your weapon. We're going to sideline you for a bit. We're going to give you some counseling.
Mhm.
Dude, fucking Jonathan Ross, man, just got, first of all, his first reaction was fucking bitch,
Right.
just like that. And then he got into his car and drove away. He didn't have the trauma that most people who are actually trained,
Because
have.
it didn't mean anything to him.
Yeah, no,
He was
that's what I'm saying.
listening to that.
But
Right.
to your point as well, is that white people feel safe. Like the other thing that I can't stand when I see in these crime shows is people go, "Man, this is not supposed to happen in our neighborhood."
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, nigga, that shit happened in my neighborhood every fucking day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What do you mean it's not supposed to happen in your neighborhood?
Yeah.
People are evil.
Yeah.
You got these people that are like, oh, black people and Latino people, they're so violent and they cause all the crime. It's funny because I watch a lot of documentaries and I watch a lot of police shows. And guess what most of those people have in common? They're white.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know, like I say we, I'm talking about, people of color. We may
Mhm.
stab somebody, we may shoot somebody. We're not collecting 50 bodies and chopping them up and eating parts of them. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean? Like
And
you look at the shit that people do, it's like, yeah, you know, we have a pretty bad culture, but y'all are not innocent. Trust me.
Yeah.
'Cause I
Hey,
watch
that's
it
what
on
gets
TV
that's
every fucking day.
now
Every
listen,
day I watch it.
now y'all getting to the point where I may say something that get me canceled.
Like I
They
have this
still
joke.
they still canceling people.
I have this joke that I tell. I tell it to everyone, but I specifically tell it to my white friends. And I've never gotten anybody get upset about it. They're always like, "Yeah, that's true," and they'll laugh hysterically. Are you ready for it?
all
Okay.
right.
What's the last thing a white person says before he dies?
Oh shoot. I don't know.
Watch this. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
People are like, oh yeah, that's right. Like we don't jump off of roofs. We don't
Right.
jump off of roofs trying to jump into a pool with a pair of skis on. We don't do
Right.
that.
Right.
That's
Right.
y'all thing. That's y'all thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I will
But
say this, man. I will say this to get off of what Jeff was saying, man. Because
Okay.
like as far as like what you're saying about you just got me
Watch
cracking
this.
up.
sorry.
uh, well, you're saying about how basically, there was a certain level, I guess, of
White privilege.
white privilege or society that she didn't, she was, I guess, maybe raised to deal with in a certain way. I can't. How can I say that? I don't. I don't really want to speak to that because I don't really know her as a person as far as for her situation.
Right.
I will say that, you know, from what I see in the video, regardless of what people think, I think some people are saying she was kind of out there to kind of like, you know, monitor what ICE was doing, whatever, right?
Even if she was, yeah.
Even
Right.
if she's white. I mean, that's her right, right? She's not, you know, if she's a problem, you call the real police to move out of the way or whatever.
Right.
But
Right.
I think that what you're dealing with, because in the situation with Jonathan Ross, I kind of do think it was his hubris a little bit and his ego, because the the pathology of the people that you are dealing with that is in that group are people that maybe don't like being told what to do, especially by someone that looks like us or a woman,
Or
right?
gay
Oh,
person.
absolutely. The
Or
male female
gay.
dynamic
Yeah.
Right.
absolutely plays into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, the fact that, you know, given the environment that he's in, and you know, this woman's wife is telling me basically to F off, you know, blah, blah, blah. They're training, and the guys that, you know, are in charge of them, i.e., you know, Trump and Vance, and he had Chrissy Nome, but whatever way you want to consider her, you know, they're told, hey man, you have total immunity, do whatever you want to do. So
Mm-hmm.
regardless of someone, if they've been in a situation, another organization where they have had to have rules that they had to follow and everything like that, if I'm part of a group that was part of, you know, Proud Boys, January Sixers, whatever
Right.
you want to
Right.
call them,
Right.
and I'm told, and I, you know, for whatever reason, you know, my life is shit, I don't have anything, blah, blah, blah. Instead of taking accountability for myself, I got to blame somebody else, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you're taking someone that mentality and saying, hey, man, now you got the right to do whatever the hell you need to do to get this person, in the process of you doing your federal duties, you can do whatever you want, and we're going to have you back. So
Right.
when you're dealing with someone like that, you have to consider, like you said, like the ego, the bravado, that, hey, man, you know, she's talking to me like this, so I'll show her. Fuck
Right.
that.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right.
Which you see in the last thing he said after he shot her dead.
Fucking bitch. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So,
Right.
I mean, that's the type of people that you're dealing with. And so when it comes to me trying to have conversations, when you have a situation like that and everyone sees it, and trying to have conversations with people that are on the other side that are going to say, hey, they were right no matter what, I kind of have to, you know, ask, well, obviously this is your mentality. You feel like you're going to be right no matter what you do, no matter what they do. And
Right.
at that point, it's like, I have to decide, okay, am I going to
Waste my time
waste
talking.
my time talking to
Absolutely.
you, or
Absolutely.
just cut you off? And right now I'm at the point where I'm cutting people off, man, because this is not, you know what I'm saying? If this was like, let's say the, you know, maybe even after Obama was elected, right? And you know, you had a Democrat versus Republican argument, and we could have a discussion on, hey man, I'm Democrat, you're Republican, okay, or independent. These are what I think is wrong. These are ideals I think are bullshit, blah, blah, blah. You know, we could have a discourse,
Right.
you know, and we could say, hey, okay, I agree or disagree with that. To me, right now, I don't think we're at the point where we need to have a discourse with people who don't give a fuck about anything except what they want. And I
Right.
think that's when I spoke on this earlier. Well, part of the problem is that when they started telling the mainstream media outlets started telling people, hey, you can't call a thing a thing. You can only call it this. Now you give other people a chance to compartmentalize. Okay, well, I see this, but I believe this. And since I want to feel more self-important in myself with what's going on, again, I relating to Trump coming out telling you now that, hey, man, you know, if you feel like this, you're right. You don't have to feel like this anymore, blah, blah, blah. That's going to feed me into believing that, hey, no matter what the fuck you say, no matter what this video says, I'm going to believe what I want, and I'm going to believe what they're telling me no matter what. And I think that's the point that we are at right now. And the more I see people's comments, the more I start to believe that, man, because it's like, you can, you know, there are grown men our ages. And I've seen some, you know, like Gus said, Puerto Rican guys, black guys, majority white men, but in this situation, you know, they have the majority on this from what I've seen, that are saying, hey, man, they don't care if she got shot in the face. Like, oh well, she deserved it because her wife was talking shit to this guy.
Right.
You know,
That shit makes no sense to me.
But people believe that. People,
Yeah.
do you understand these people came around watching us get lynched?
Oh yeah, of course.
You understand? They
Yeah.
believe they watched them get tarred, feathered, dismembered. They took chunks of their body with from them and kept them as souvenirs and had
Yep.
their children watching it. There's evil people, or there's people with morals that dip into what most of us probably would consider evil.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
if you bring it though, even into more modern day, right? We were talking about Eric. I think you mentioned January 6th earlier, right?
Right.
So if you go, just take these people's logic, the people that are saying she deserved it, right? You take their logic and you put it in January 6th. You put it on January 6th, and you go, okay, so by your logic, the people that had weapons and were actually physically attacking federal officers at the Capitol should have been shot and killed.
that's if
By
you
your
feel
logic.
that's if you feel the election was real.
No,
And
no, no,
but
no.
I'm
That's
just
not what I'm
saying,
talking. That's not even close to what I'm talking about.
no, but
I'm
what
just talking. I'm just talking about just their argument of she deserved it because she tried to hurt a federal officer. You
yeah,
actually had people
right.
physically attacking federal officers, and the officers on January 6th absolutely were justified if they wanted to shoot somebody because they were actually being attacked,
Okay, here's
right?
the other
Like that.
side of that.
Hold on one
Here's,
second. Like
yeah,
that woman, uh,
Ashley Babbitt.
Babbitt,
Right.
Ashley Babbitt, right? They broke the window. The guy was behind the window going, "Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm going to shoot you." She jumped through the window. He shot her. She died. People are like, "I can't believe that." She was only exercising her rights. It's like, no, because by your logic, just by your logic, if
okay,
you're saying that people can disobey, that people can't disobey a federal officer, and that they can't have the excuse of plausible deniability of whether or not they were trying to actually hurt that officer, right? On
mhm.
January 6th, they were physically assaulting federal officers. Not only did they get away with it, they weren't killed except for Ashley Babbitt. Several officers died, and then they all got pardoned.
Okay, so to them, in their mindset, it was not the same because the election was stolen, and the election. Hold on,
Yes, yeah,
hold on,
no, no,
hold on. No.
I get the
Yeah,
philosophy behind it,
but
but
they're
that's not what I'm
saying,
talking about.
those are no longer federal agents. Those are people who stole the country, and you are a patriot like Paul Revere, and taking back the country that was stolen from you.
100%. But
Keep
So
in
this
mind.
is what I'm saying. That
that's
all
their
falls into
logic.
the
But
that
that
all. I understand that, but
right,
again, that's not my point. That all comes into their reasoning of why they feel they can do this now.
right, because
Is
they
is,
took
is
in
my
that
point?
person. He's not an
It's the
officer
result of
anymore.
that.
Yeah, he's not an
You know.
officer anymore to them.
Yeah. Well, like but Jonathan Ross he's actually not an officer. He's an ICE agent. You know
Right,
what I mean? Who doesn't have that authority? The belief on January 6th was these people did have the authority and they just didn't give a fuck about the rules, which is what I mean. If you look at what Donald Trump said last week,
okay.
when they were talking about Venezuela,
So
right? What he said was they asked him, they were like, so, do you feel that if we were going to have another conflict, that you would have to go to Congress and get permission? And what he said was, no,
right,
everything is based off of my morality and what I feel.
which has
Yep.
So
always
he's
been
literally telling the entire country, I don't care what the rules are. I'm going to do what I want to, which then emboldens the people that follow him to feel the same way.
right.
It's
And
sick.
and to me, that's how they've always been. And he's just saying it. The people that believe segregation were of the same mentality. Those enemies of morality or black people are the same as Donald Trump. They do what they feel they need to do. America has never been the honest, friendly place that follows the rules.
Mm-mm.
Only fools follow the rules. If you read Donald Trump's book, I don't know the name of it,
Mein
but
Kampf. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
right, right. I actually think it's different than Mein Kampf.
No,
Right,
I'm
right,
just joking.
The
right,
abridged version. The
right,
abridged
right,
Yeah.
version.
Right. I mean, I think people need to read Mein Kampf to find out why Hitler did what he did. You understand what I'm saying? And it's different than Donald Trump.
Oh wait, was it called If I Did It? Oh no, that was OJ. Sorry.
That was OJ. But again, like I said, with Donald Trump, in business, you follow the rules, you're not going to succeed. As these people are running the country the way they run the mob. You almost need to watch Godfather or Harlem. Okay, and then you'll understand a little bit better of what they say and what they do, and you'll realize Donald Trump is just saying what they used to do and they've always done. He's just saying it now, and that's again why some people like him. Even that's why some of these black radicals like him, because they'd rather a Klanman come in their face and be a Klanman without a hood than wear a hood and smile.
Oh, absolutely. That's the same way I feel about people. I'd rather you let me know that you hate me.
Right. But that's the way they feel about Biden and Hillary. But, black people really never had a choice of a Barack Obama and a Donald Trump before. We always had to vote for the lesser of two evils. Did we think Biden was Barack Obama? No. Did we think Hillary didn't have racist friends? No. Did we think the Democratic Party didn't have racists in it? No, but we understood that we had more congressmen gaining footholds in the Democratic Party. They were a little bit open to our agenda, and we could make more progress with them. They were actually more intelligent, and we are actually having an impact on them. But again, we never thought the rules were what they played by. If you think the rules are what they played by, come on, they broke treaties with the Native Americans, and they've been doing that ever since. And they've been following what they feel is a Christian right of manifest destiny. And now they're scared for genetic survival. And
for sure.
But all of these, like when you look at J.D. Vance, he's out for designer babies. He's looking for
Stephen Miller's not even quiet about it.
Right. But they'll say designer babies. But what are they saying? They're saying the white population is dying. They have a negative birth rate. You understand? And if we don't do anything except have families and continue to live, we will become the majority. We don't have to do anything except have children and live. That's why they want to get these the country purged of colored people.
Yeah. Well, to your point, man, like, and to your point, when you say that, it reminds me of something else, because it's when we're dealing with these people, man, like, at the end of the day, you're like, you don't even buy by the old rules of, men are supposed to protect women, keep them safe and stuff like that, at least dealing with these people. Right.
Right.
Yeah, obviously. Right. So for me, I think now, given that everything that we've seen and everything we keep experiencing, day by day, even trying to talk to people and dealing with all this other stuff, is that I can't, at least for me, like there's a line has to be drawn, and it has to be there now, because of simple fact, like now there's policies that are being put in place by people that run this type of Nazi regime that we have right now, that is going to affect all of us day to day. And at this point, you can't say, well, I voted for Trump, but it's not so bad what he's doing and blah blah blah. And because to me, it's like, okay, like that could have been one of us, to be perfectly honest, right? That could have been one of us, man. And for me, it's like, I have my concealed carry and everything like that, so it might have been a different story. But first of all, I'm like, hey, if I can get the fuck out of the situation, I'm getting out of the situation. So I don't blame her for pulling off. I probably would have done the same thing. Okay, I got one guy over here. I see a guy over here. He already pulled his gun out with his cell phone. There's another guy back here. I can't really see. I know he's in the back of my vehicle. Remember, her passenger side back window was down on that side of the car. So yeah, and then you got a guy coming here at my door, pulling on the door, telling me to get the fuck out of the car. I'm leaving. So I find it hard to believe that, well, not anymore, but if you can see that and you cannot empathize with that woman and say, hey, this person isn't me. She was probably scared, whatever, regardless of her background, regardless of whatever neighborhood she was in, whatever, I guess it was her neighborhood. She has a right to get herself out of the situation, because if they want her so fucking bad, guy had a fucking cell phone. He could have took a picture of her fucking license plate.
He did.
It went to the actual police and said,
Right.
"Hey, we're looking for this person. Where
Right.
blah blah blah." But
Right.
the way he did it, it was totally unprofessional.
Absolutely.
He's a piece of shit for doing what he did.
Absolutely.
And for people to come at me, and I've had people like both of you guys said, make the comparison. I had a guy come in my comment section and say, "Well, I didn't hear you have any sympathy for Ashley Babbitt."
Right.
The fucking woman that was part of the January 6th terrorists.
Right. She was actually in the process of committing a crime.
Thank you.
Right.
In the process of committing the crime. And let's not forget that at that time, they were all Blue Lives Matter. And then after that happened, you never heard that ever again, right?
Well, it's interesting because, so I saw somebody else make a different comparison today. It might have been yesterday, but either way, within the last 24 hours. You have this woman, Renee Good, sitting in her car, literally moments before it happened, being like, "Dude, I'm not mad at you." Like, there was no aggression on her face whatsoever.
Right.
Right. Her wife was more agitated for sure.
Right.
I don't want to point fingers, but I think if anyone had a little bit more liability, it might have been her wife. For listen, I'm all about protests and going ahead and speaking your mind. But I'm just saying, if you're going to compare two people, you're going to go with Renee or Rachel. Rachel had more to do with agitating the situation than Renee did. But I'm not placing blame on her in any way. And I don't want anybody to think that I am. Okay. Right. But like, you take just even the two of them, whether they're on an immigrant watch, whatever they're doing, protesting, whatever they're doing. Then you go to Kyle Rittenhouse, who literally traveled from another state with a rifle.
A minor.
And they called him a hero. Right. They're like, he was standing up for justice. It's like, dude had an actual weapon and was actively shooting at people. And this woman was sitting in her car, causing you a little inconvenience. There's a huge difference between those two things in just terms of what action they are.
Yeah.
And still, people will say on one side that was justified and this is not. And it's
I would actually say amend it. Let's not even waste time. It's like saying there's people that are part of the Klan and there's people that are in the Baptist church. At some point, we just call them Klansmen, right? Mm-hmm. So when you have people, like I said, you'll confuse yourself trying to think that they just feel this way. Just call them what they are. You have racists who say this, racists who make excuses for her getting killed. Now you're clearer on what they are.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that they did on Fox News was go, well, she's a self-proclaimed poet. Right. And she's married to a woman. And, she's a divorced woman with, 2 other kids. And it's like, here we go. This is the black situation all over again. It's like, dude had prior records.
That's what racists say.
It's just interesting because she's a white woman, right? But because she's a lesbian, they had something to attack. Yeah. Because she was a poet and not somebody who was a secretary or whatever they feel that a woman should be doing, she was attacked. And it's like, why are you attacking? You're attacking her character.
Oh, go ahead, man. I'm gonna let you finish.
And I gotta get out of here.
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
All right, Jeff. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna listen to the last point, and and I hit you up on Instagram, so I like your work. But we'll network at some other point. It's just
absolutely.
Thanks.
What were you saying, Art?
No, damn, I forgot what I was gonna say.
All right, well, let me get out of here on that.
All right.
Thank you very much, Eric. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, we'll do this again. There's been a couple of comic or nerd groups, or everyone call us geeks or whatever, that have been compelled to actually talk about this stuff. As a writer, I certainly put this out in my comic books. I have, the illustration with my character Super Black throwing an ice truck. You know what I'm saying? Out the neighborhood. And it's not by coincidence. I thought of a new character today called Cell Phone Man. And he's a superhero, because I think the hero of these stories goes back to, what was it? Not O.J. Simpson. What was the other one that was driving down the highway and the police beat him?
Rodney King.
Rodney King. And they said that they were pulling the batons off of him instead of hitting down.
Oh man, I watched that beating.
Right. So
Oof.
cell phone man, the body cam man, those are the superheroes. But thank you very much, gentlemen. And
Yeah, no problem.
and tag me, and I'll make sure I share this. All
All
right.
right, man. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it, brother.
Hey, Eric, I was gonna give one more point. Talking about talking about engaging people. Like, there's a lot of times I don't just engage people on my page.
Yeah.
I engage them on some stuff that pops up on my feed.
Yeah.
And when it comes to racist, one of my favorite things to do is to get them to say the N word. Because they'll be like, like somebody will attack somebody, right? Like something will happen with, a black guy attacking a white guy or whatever, and they'll go, the usual suspects. That's their code word. And I go, what are you trying to say? And they're like, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm like, bro, if you feel it, just say it with your chest. Like, stand on it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. We know what words you want to use. Just go ahead and use it.
Yeah.
And half the time they'll stop engaging with me, and then the other half will be like, fine, nigger. And I'm like, see, I actually have more respect for you.
Yeah.
Because now you say it with your chest instead of trying to hide and code word this shit. Just tell people how you feel. Like, if you really believe it, stand on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I can actually have a conversation with the person that says it as to the person that doesn't want to say it. And I know that's a weird thing, but
Well, to that effect, man, I get what you're saying, because you can at least understand where they're coming from. You can learn, you can deal with them accordingly. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, yeah, I know the plan of attack at that point. I mean, I already know it, but when they're afraid to say it, I'm like, 9 times out of 10, they also don't have a profile picture.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, dude, you're not like, what are you, ICE? You're literally afraid to show your face. It's because you're afraid. You're afraid of actually saying it.
Right? It's like 2 posts on the profile, and you're like,
yeah, they keep their profile private. They got no pictures, no profile picture of themselves. I'm like, I already know who you are. If you're not a bot, I already know who you are. So, let's have a conversation. Just say what you actually want to say.
Yeah.
If you feel like I had this one guy threaten me. He was like, I'll come to your house. Because we were getting into it. And he actually was like, I'll bring my gun and I'm going to come to your house. I'm going to kill you and your family. And I was like, if you think you're coming to a place where I'm just going to allow you to walk up to my house and kill me and my family, you got the wrong motherfucker.
Yeah.
But that's it's real interesting.
Warrior shit, man. Like you said, they get so used to engaging with people online, and it's like, that's not real life, man. Like,
I call it them getting filled up with e-courage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, right.
Like I used to bounce, for bars and clubs. And he was talking about Jeff was talking about like big, people that are big, And look, at the time when I was doing it, I was like 5'9", maybe like 205, 210. Not a small guy, but not a huge guy, And I'd get guys come in like 6'3", 6'5", 300, like stacked, And I'd be like, ID. And they'd be like, why do I don't need to show you my ID. I'm like, you absolutely need to show me your ID. They're like, what are you going to do? And I never had to lay hands on anybody. I would just say to them, do you think that I'm at the door securing this bar because I don't know how to take you out?
Right.
And they would think about it. And they'd go, you know what? It's not worth the hassle, And they would just show me their ID, And so, like, for me, I try to, in that sense, it's, yes, I'm being aggressive, but I'm also trying to diffuse. It's like, look, man, if you think you're scaring me, you're not scaring me. Let's just talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's figure each other out, or stop figuring it. Let's just stop talking. But I like to engage people. I like to make them think. And every once in a while I get through to somebody. But for me, it's the engagement is fun. I like to make people talk. It's when they start getting personal that I try to nip it in the bud. Yeah,
I mean, I think for a lot of those, well, let's say guys like that, like they're, I've come to find that, their default setting will be violence. Once they figure out that they can't outthink you, they can't outtalk you, that's the next fucking step. Like you said, the guy threatening to come to your house. It's like, hey man, we had a discourse, you lost. Like, why can't you just accept it and move on? But you're dealing with people that have been emboldened in their own ignorance. So they're like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, shit. I mean, the president of the United States is saying he could shoot somebody and get away with it. Fucking so can I.
Yeah. And that's why I say that people are emboldened, not just not just by what people are saying, but because of their political views.
Yeah.
We've gotten into a an environment of political discourse that is just not friendly
Yeah.
on either side. On either side, like I got a lot of my friends that, oh, they're like that. I'm like, no, you're like that too, man. I hate
Yeah.
to break it to you, but I'm watching it from the outside, and I'm watching the two of you talk to each other, and it doesn't sound very different to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's where, I think to the point, I think sometimes when I look at things like this, we kind of, at least for me, because I'm the same way, man. The way, I only speak for me. When, the way my brain works, because, I'm a creative, I like to write stories, I'm making up characters and stuff like that. Part of at least my psychology is that I sometimes almost have to understand why someone thinks a certain way, almost to a fault, man. You know what I mean? And that's just me. That's just me.
No, I mean, I'm the same way. I told you, like, I try to step out of the box. I have a lot of people that will message me privately, and they're like, you know what? I don't always agree with the things you have to say, but at least you make me think about things,
Yeah.
In a different way. And I mean, that's all I can do. Like, I definitely have my biases. I definitely have my feelings about things,
Right.
but at the end of the day, I try as best as I can. Even when I'm angry, I feel like I try to do my best to engage people and to make them think about something in a different way.
Yeah. And that's what I like to do, man. But in regards to what we see now, what's going on, man, it's like, for me personally, I think it's now more of I guess, like, I want to say protecting my own sanity a little bit, because it's like, like, critical thinking is out the window, right? Like, you and I, even if we fall on different sides of the political spectrum, if you're a critical thinker, like, say, for example, I was, an Obama supporter. So I voted for him, but that doesn't mean that I agree with everything that he did, right? As a critical thinker, you can you can come to that conclusion. Hey, man, well, I like him for this, I didn't like him for this, blah, blah. You're dealing with people now on the right, they're just like agreeing with everything. It doesn't matter.
And once again, I don't think it's just a thing of the right. Like, for instance, we go back to the last election. Like, I do not think that Biden should have run again. Like, I saw the signs early. I don't know why people didn't see it. Like, when we talk about seeing the truth, why people didn't see it. They didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
He clearly had failing. They're like, he's the best person to run the country. I'm like, no, he's not. At this point, no, he's not. Like, he's old. He's not engaging. There's a reason they're not putting him on television. Like, he gave the least amount of press conferences and interviews than any president in modern history. There's a reason for that. There are people who left his camp before the end of the election and everything that were like, he's not he's not cognitive at this point, and people are just hiding it. It's like, I don't think Kamala also was the person to go to, but that's what happened. You know what I mean? Like, at that point, for me, I believe they took away our democratic process. They didn't give us a choice. He ran too long, and then he dropped out and pretty much anointed her and didn't give us the opportunity to see, like, had they gone to the convention and put other people in there and then people chose her, fine. No problem with that. But they took that choice away from us, and that's why I get into, like, I don't think it's just a thing of the right, man.
Now, when it comes to the policy side of that argument there, because I'm not, at least on that, I can admit, like, when it comes to that, I'm not well versed on what's supposed to happen if he's going to be taken out of the running because she is the vice president, right? So when it comes to the actual law, does it automatically default to her if he's not able to?
No, well, the thing was he didn't say he was quitting. He just said, I'm not running again. So no matter what, there was supposed to be an election in November.
Right, to replace him because she's still the vice president.
Right, she doesn't automatically get it's like when somebody serves one term, they don't automatically get, reelected, or their vice president doesn't automatically get reelected.
Right.
He should not have run in the first place. Is my point.
Right.
But by the time he dropped out, I don't feel it was too late to bring somebody else in. I felt they could have had a vote at the DNC, and just been like, okay, is Kamala the one we want, or who else is there? If there's nobody else to step up and she's the candidate by default, not a problem. But we didn't get that choice. They automatically said, or he automatically said she's the one that's going to take over. And
Right.
most people believe that he did that because Obama went against him and told him he should drop out. It was kind of a fuck you to Obama from him. So it's difficult, man. Like Obama, you were talking about Obama. Like I voted for Obama, but I have a problem with like when people talk about uh, uh, Roe versus Wade,
Right.
for instance. I'm like, Obama ran on Roe versus Wade. He said that on day one he was going to codify it, right? Then when it came time to do it, people questioned him. He's like, well, Roe versus Wade isn't really at the top of my list. Like, well,
Right.
that was on your list when you ran, and you said it was the first thing you were going to do. You had 8 years, and in that 8 years, it was never on the top of your list to do anything about it. You didn't even bring it up for a vote.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh well, Republicans went against him. I said, yeah, he had 90 days. He had 90 days with the House, the Senate, and the presidency, right? And what did he get done during that time? What they call Obamacare, and it had 100% Republican opposition, and it
Yeah.
still went through. You're telling me that in that 90 days he couldn't have also done Roe versus Wade?
Yeah.
Like, I blame the Republicans, sure,
Yeah.
but I blame the guy who said he was going to do that on day one too. And people have a problem with me saying that. And I'm like, why do you have a problem with me saying that? Like, we're supposed to be able to criticize our leaders, and it just doesn't have to be from the left or the right. Like Nancy Pelosi, I think she did a lot of great things in her career, but by the end of it, she was doing lip service. She was ripping up papers, pretending to clap behind Trump, but she signed everything that he put across her desk.
Yeah. I know that. Yeah.
She signed, no matter what she said, she signed everything he put across her desk.
Yeah.
So it's like you're, and then that whole fucking kneeling with the African fucking scarves and all. I was like, come on now,
Man.
come on now.
I saw that, man. I was like, really? Like, come on,
Yeah.
man. You guys go overboard now. Like, you don't have to go that far. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like I'm looking at, like you said, I'm looking at what policies you guys working on. Like forget all the the political showmanship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what are you guys doing behind the scenes?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And that's why I have a problem with the Democratic Party as much as I have a problem with the Republican Party. It's not that one is worse. Yeah, one is worse than the other and what they want. But at the end of the day, what are they doing for us?
Yeah.
I want to see action. I don't want to see. I don't want to hear talk, because they get a chance every 4 to 8 years. They get a chance to do something different, and nothing has really changed.
Yeah.
There are minimal things that have changed. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that progress hasn't been made. I'm not going to say that one side definitely works for us and the other side definitely doesn't work for us. No, they both kind of work and don't work for us. It just depends where you are in your class status, where you are in your racial makeup, and where you are politically. It just people get different things from the different parties.
I think what I'm getting at with that is, it's like when I talk about the right, like let's say just for the last election, there's a lot of things that to their detriment they will look at and say, yeah, I want this, and not look at the consequences. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I have guys that were in a union that I was in that were voting, didn't have a problem voting for Trump even after he said he didn't support unions. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like, I'm like, okay, all right, give me a reason why he would why you voting for the guy, just in general conversation, oh well, he's
for sure.
And I'm like, well, what about the concept of a plan for the medical replacement for the Obamacare? What about what he said about, I'm a veteran, what he said about this about veterans? What did he say about getting rid of this part of the VA? You guys don't have any issues with that at all? Oh, well, I didn't know he said that stuff, but now I know, not really. It's like,
and that's the thing. It goes back to being uneducated about policies and what man. I think the two biggest problems we have in this country are politics and religion. You know what I mean? Like, they feed each other, and they detract from each other. And if you're a right, if you're a right winger Republican, more than likely you're watching Fox News, and Fox News is biased. And if you're a left winger or a Democrat, more than likely you're watching what is MSN now, which used to be MSNBC. Man, it's left politics all day. Like there's no way you can say that MSNBC was down the middle. They just weren't,
Yeah.
you know. And so yeah, it's not you can't equate the side,
Mhm.
but you also can't say that there's no bias. It's not news. It's just
Yeah.
not, you know. So I don't know, man. It's I
Well, when you
wish more
talk
people
about
would go to
independent media, like you
independent media.
said, the independent media that you listen to, and I want to get
Mhm.
that from you again because I want to see what you're talking about there because I do watch well not for me like watch and stuff, but for me, um, I listen to radio first thing in the morning, right? So I listen to Sirius XM. So I know you're familiar with Sirius XM. They
Yeah,
have
of course. Yeah.
the Urban View on there in the mornings,
Right.
right? Monday through Friday. Well, basically the whole week. But the reason I started listening to them a few years back, because they had a guy on there, Joe Madison, right? So of course, Joe Madison, he passed away a few years ago
Mhm.
from I think colon cancer. But um, what they had on that show was they would have politicians and people that are running actually on the show, and they would ask them questions. Hey, what are you going to do about this policy? You say you're going to do this. How are you going to implement that? So they were engaging with people that were running office, and you could get a sense of where they were coming from versus like not hearing anything from them at all,
Yeah.
right? So I
So
can say,
yeah,
okay,
like Breaking Points, the show that I was talking about, they do
yeah,
that. They'll bring on
oh,
Republicans, they'll bring on Democrats. Like there was this one woman, I don't remember her name, but she was a Democrat that was running for office, and she asked to be on the show, so they brought her on the show,
mhm,
and they were like, "Let me ask you a question. Why did you want to be on this show? Like, what is it?" And it basically came down to, they had numbers, but
mhm,
they pushed back on her, on some of her policies, and it turned out not good for her at all,
mm,
and they were like, you have to know that, like, yeah, I'm a Democrat, or she's like, I'm far left, but this guy, he's a Republican, and our show is mixed. It's not just left people on the left. It's not just people on the right. It's left, right, and independent. It's people like me, the Democratic Socialists. It's people that are communists. It's like it really runs the gamut, of followers, and when they started pushing back on her, she looked confused and she got lost, you
mm,
know. And I was like, good for you guys, like, and they'll bring people on who they try to get, some of the bigger players who won't go on the show, but because they know they'll push back, and they know that, like, they can't, like, one thing that they do if they're going to interview somebody, they can't have softball questions. Like, they
mm,
won't let you come in with questions that you have to ask. They're like,
nice.
if we won't do that on our show, we ask what we want to ask, and we ask how we want to ask. If we
Right.
want to confront you, you need to be able to come back and respond on our show.
Oh, okay.
And so I like that because they challenge people, and they challenge people both on the left and both, and on the right. And
Mm,
I don't know, I'm not saying everybody should watch it. I like it because they they don't just come from their own side. They also give you, like, the stories and their sources,
mhm.
and
Yeah.
they'll go, this is where we got our information from, and this is our take on it. But please look in the links below. We posted all the links of where our sources are. Go read them for yourself, check them out for yourself, and decide on your own.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that. I think that's one of the reasons why I like them because they will cite their sources as well. You get to okay, let me go look this up and read for myself, and then also to give you the opposition as well with the not so at times when the numbers aren't right on the other side,
Hmm.
and so they'll let you be able to look at that for yourself and say, okay, yeah, oh, this is the actual information. This is the fake information. Okay, like you were talking about, DOJ versus DHS policy. Yeah,
Hmm.
okay, I can go look up DHS policy and see this versus someone can probably take that, especially now, take that same information, screenshot it, whatever they're going to do, and then rewrite over it. You know what I mean? Because people do
Yeah.
that and then
Yeah.
post it and say, hey, this is the DHS policy right here. And like, it's not the actual policy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's a thing now that we have to worry about doing that as well. Because like, yeah, someone can post something, an image, but I still have to do my due diligence and
Right.
look it up for myself and see what it is.
Absolutely.
You
And I
know,
told people, like, I posted kind of like a cliff notes of the policy, and I was like, but it's not hard to find. Like, literally, all you have to do is type in DHS policy on deadly force. That's it, and then you can read it for yourself. It's not that hard.
yeah,
Yes, I'm giving you the cliff notes because most people won't research.
yeah,
And they're like, well, this isn't official. I know, yeah, I know it's not official. I went and I read the actual policy, and this actually does sum it up. But please feel free to go ahead and read the actual policy.
Right.
You know, and I got that DOJ versus DHS policy because of somebody on the right, you know, who was trying to make their argument. And I was like, oh, you know what? I didn't realize that this is not DOJ, they're DHS. Let me go check it out. And then I went and I checked it out for myself, and that's where I got my information. You know, but that's me. Like I like the information. I like to go research it for myself. You know, and I don't. When I say research, I'm not talking about doing months of deep dives and writing papers on it. You know,
Yeah.
obviously when we talk about research, it's like, well, I actually did look a few things up, and I
Right.
never take it from one source unless it's the actual just policy. I try to take different sources and be like, all right, this paper said this, that paper said that, this paper said this. Let me get all the common things together and see, you know, and if they put where their sources come from, then I could check that too, and kind of go, all right, so this is why I feel the way I feel,
Yeah.
you know.
I think that's the thing is that we lose critical thinking now, and you know, because I mean, say what you want about, yeah. Well, I'm not going to say anything good about Trump, first of all, but second of all, I will say this is that, you know, I will say, because of his background, he knows his audience. You know what I'm saying?
No question.
And he knows exactly what they want to hear and what they don't. So I think that's one of the reasons why, one of the many reasons why, obviously he's in office right now, because you still have a big part of the population, according to you see the voting numbers, right? Um, that are like, hey, we believe what this guy is saying. We feel empowered because of this. Because there was no, you can't make a policy argument, right? At least with the last election, when it came to the last debate that they had between Kamala and
Yeah.
Trump. You know, she laid out some things that she wanted to do. I mean, there was none on the other side, you know, and so we went to
I
have
mean, I also don't. To that point, and I know this is going to piss off a lot of people who watch this, but I
right,
also think she didn't have a real platform. There was a
right,
lot of things that she didn't know what she wanted to do. She didn't have an actual stance. You
mm-hmm,
know, like a lot of people don't know that she went through five different what do you call it, like the people that work for you, like the offices, you know.
oh, like what do you call it? Like the assistant that she had, her advisors.
Yeah, like she went through five sets of advisors, and a lot of those people came out going, she doesn't know what she wants to do,
Mm,
and that's why I left. You know, and people don't want to hear it. They just want to hear not Trump. You know, like I'll admit 100%. I lost a lot of friends over this, but I didn't vote in either of the last two elections. You
mm,
know, but it's because I knew where I lived. Like I lived in California, I live in New York. They're blue states. I know they're not going for the Republican. I know that. Also, I know the counties that I live in. Like when I was in California, I was in a blue county. Like in the last bunch of elections, it was like over 95% blue.
mm,
My vote didn't actually matter. So I
mm,
voted for the third party because if third party gets, I don't remember, 3 or 5% of the vote, then they actually get funding to be able to run without having to raise as much money as they do just to try to get into the ballots in most
mm,
states, right? They actually get government funding to go ahead and run. And then in this election, I live in a red town now. Like I'm upstate New York, it's red. My one vote in this county didn't matter. I knew it wouldn't matter. You know, and people are like, "Oh, you have to vote because if you're not, you're voting for the other side." It's like, no, local elections work that way, but you have to understand how the presidential elections work.
mm,
Because when you're looking on the news, right, and you're watching how states vote, you watch this county, this county, this county, this county, this county. That makes up the state. Now you get this many electoral votes.
mm.
It doesn't say this person, this person, this person, this person, this person. It's
Yeah,
this county, this county, this county. I know the county I live in, right? So I knew that, and I checked afterwards. I checked the stats. It was a red. It's a red county, and it went
and it went red.
overwhelmingly for Trump.
Yeah,
So my one little vote wouldn't have mattered, but it mattered voting for the third party.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
What you're
so
saying
it's
there.
like I actually understand how my voting rights work.
Hmm.
You know, and I'm not saying people don't understand it, but it goes to the same way. Like they get blinded by their side, and they're like, well, if you're voting for one, you're voting against the other, and if you're not voting for the people I want you to vote for, and you're voting against me, and it's like that's not how voting works, man. Not in this type of election.
Yeah.
That's counties and electors.
County, yeah. I mean, yeah, you got a good point there, man. I
You know,
mean,
so
yeah.
I don't always go with the flow. Like I said, I think out of the box. I like to think on my own 2 feet. I don't just go with the herd. You know, if there's a road and all the herd is going that way, and then there's a little path, I'm like, oh, what's that? You know, let me go check it out. I may return to the herd, but I'm gonna check out that path first to see if maybe that's the right way for me to go.
Yeah.
You know, and people don't like that. You know, but I'm confrontational by nature. I am.
I think it's when you get. I think it comes with age too, man. Because I think when you get to a certain age, like you know, I'm
Oh, I've
40,
always been like this.
and I just for me, it's like I can't.
How old are you?
44.
Okay,
So
I'm gonna be 53 this month.
you're 53. So
Yeah.
you can understand, man. It's like I feel like in your 20s and 30s, you know, depending on your personality, you're just kind of like, hey, man, go along to get along. You know, like say for example, like maybe in a job situation, right? You know, you're working somewhere, you don't want to be too outspoken because you just want to get through your day, blah blah blah. You don't give a fuck. You're getting a paycheck. As you get older and you get more wiser, you start to accept less bullshit. And
Hmm.
you know, you might be in that same position, you know, let's say the same job years later, and you're like, yeah, you've been asking us to do this shit for the past 10 years, but you do know it's wrong, right? Can we actually fix it instead of keep doing the wrong thing over and over again, you know?
Oh
And
no, yeah.
yeah, right. They don't like that opposition. Whoa, what do you mean? New ideas? No, we don't do
Oh
that
no,
here.
I was gonna say that when I said that I'm confrontational by nature, I mean I've been doing this since I was a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I can't tell you how many jobs I had in my 20s where I was like, yo, I could go make $7 an hour somewhere else.
But
I
that's
don't
the
need
way
to
it
work
was,
with this
right?
bullshit.
That's the way
Yeah,
it was,
but
right?
that
You
was
didn't,
me. Like, you know, I would tell managers, I'm like, why are you a manager? Like, you don't even know how to do this. How are you gonna tell me to do that? You know, they'd schedule me for a Tuesday. If my day off was Tuesday, I would take the day off, and then I come back in. They'd be like, "Yo, I scheduled you for Tuesday." I'm like, "Yeah, Tuesday's my day off. I don't work on Tuesdays. Why'd you do that? Like, that's your problem." You know, I've walked out of jobs. Like, for instance, man, there's this story that I always tell people. Right, I'm an atheist. I told you this earlier.
right, right.
My family is mostly Catholic. You know, I grew up. I went to Catholic school. I was in Bible study. I was a missionary for a little while. Like, I was involved, right? And then I got out of it, and my mom's going to be past now 15 years this year.
Okay.
And I remember a couple of years before she passed away, she was like, you know, I really want you to go back to church. I was like, yeah, mom, it's not going to happen. She goes, well, what if it was my dying wish? And I was like, yeah, sorry, that wish is going to have to go unanswered. She's like, what do you mean? You wouldn't do that if I was on my deathbed? You know, and I told her, I says, look, I don't believe in this stuff, right? But I respect your belief in it. And I don't want to go to church just to placate you,
Mhm,
knowing that it will make you feel better when I'm not sincere about why I'm there.
mhm.
Like, I don't like religion, but I respect people's views and I respect their vision of it enough that I'm not going to go there and pretend that I love God just to make you happy, because then I'm not being honest about why I'm there. Like, it's pointless, you know. And she looked at me, she goes, you know what? I get it. I was like, shit, wow. I actually made a good argument, you know. But yeah, I mean, even with my mom on her virtual deathbed, I was still confrontational. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do it just because you want me to.
Mhm.
You know, I have to want to be there because I know that you want me to be there, and I don't want to be there. You know,
Yeah, so like you
so
said, man, that's part of your personality, man. You
yeah,
know,
it really is. People
yeah,
that know me from childhood know that I don't. I've always believed in the path less. What do they call it?
fast
The
left,
path less traveled.
travel. Yeah,
Yeah, that's always been me.
yeah.
But
No,
hey,
man,
man, we were supposed to be on for an hour. It's 2.5 hours now.
I know, right?
We probably lost people an hour and a half ago.
They're like, ah, fuck it, I'm getting off here. Let me
Yeah,
put this up here, man, because I'm gonna do this, but then I'm also gonna do another live later to put more of an emphasis on this. I just want to bring this up since we're here real quick, so
yeah,
people know um that here. So let me put this up here. I have this. So this is Keith Porter, guys.
yes,
He was shot and killed by an ICE agent on December 31st in Los Angeles. So
yeah,
again, I'm going to do some more research on this before you know
yeah. As am I.
talk about it. But from what I understand, he was in the area that he lived. He had a rifle that he was shooting in the air to celebrate the New Year's. The ICE agent who was, I'm assuming, in the neighborhood took it
They
upon.
said he lived. They said he lived in the complex.
Right. He lived. So he lived in the same complex. So he left his part of, you know, he left his complex. He went out to, he grabbed his weapon. He went to go investigate what had happened, and he ended up killing Mr. Porter. Now,
Yeah.
there are reports also that say that, you know, he pointed the gun at the
Yeah. They said that. They said that. I'm sorry. What is his name again?
Keith Porter.
Keith Porter. I don't know why it's slipping my head, but yeah, the reports say that, you know, Keith did point his weapon at him. Once again, it's, you know, unless there's cameras, man, there's no real way to say. And, you know, I don't want to. I feel terrible because you know, oh my, hold on, my headphones just died. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
My volume is off. I don't know what happened here. So, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Yep.
You can hear me. All right. Let me turn off my Bluetooth real quick, because I'm not hearing anything. Turn off. Turn off. Come on. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Here we
Oh,
go.
no worries, man. No worries.
All right, now I can hear. Yeah, I just want to say it's too early for me to take a real stance on this one because I don't know the details of the case. I feel really horrible about saying that because you know, obviously my gut wants to go with Keith, but not knowing what
Yeah.
really happened. You know, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh well, what happened before, you know, he got you. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to know like what happened at the moment. You know, obviously leading factors definitely make they make a difference.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean,
Well, that's the thing too, man. Like you said, it's, you know, I looked at the same thing. I looked at it a few days ago because actually one of those programs that I listened to was actually talking about him,
Yeah.
and so that spurred me to, okay, let me look some of this up. And you know, for people who will see this later, I did reach out to Keith Porter's daughter on TikTok, and I was talking to her for a little bit, you know, about what happened. And again, I'm not going to get her to come on here. Hey, you got to do an interview because
yeah, for sure. That's traumatic.
that's right. It's traumatic. I'm not, you know, this is not about me trying to, you know, make views off of that or anything like that. What I am going to say is that, you know, regardless of, from what I hear for right now, and this is my own personal opinion, some people might fight me on this later, you know, given situation, you know, again, people get them confused with real cops. And all I'm saying is that, hey, man,
absolutely.
you know, you're not a real cop. So to me, like, regardless of what happened before or whatever, you're not supposed to be actively investigating anything unless it has something to do with immigration.
Right. Yeah. And apparently he was off duty, you know, but like, so for, again, like, and this is where, you know, I run into a dilemma because, you know, people are like, oh, he was off duty. He had no business. But, you know, then you get into situations where like there's an active shooter where somebody's just shooting a bunch of people and an off duty cop or somebody with a gun comes in and they shoot the person and they save everybody. You know what I mean? And so that argument of off duty, like, it's questionable because, you know, in one sense they are armed and they're licensed and they, you know, who knows, maybe he really did think that there was an active shooting going on. I don't know. And maybe Keith really did point his weapon, but the reason maybe he pointed his weapon was because some white dude was coming up with a gun and he was defending him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many variables and it's hard at this point. Like I said, I'm not taking a side. And it's not that I want to believe one of the other. I have a sense of what I think happened, but because I don't know, only learned about this today and I haven't done any research. And I don't want to offend his daughter in any way, you know, by saying that I'm not taking anybody's side. I feel for her, obviously, for his friends and family, you know. But I need to know more. And I'm one of those people that will actually look for the information and try to gain as much information as I can before I either do or don't take a stance on it.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, I will say this, talking to her, and then, you know, she did have a video on TikTok where she was, you know, kind of talking about what happened. And so again, I'll probably post that on my timeline later today or tomorrow. But, you know, given the fact that she is a college student and, you know, she is obviously, you know, mourning her father.
Yeah, regardless of the situation, she, you know, she lost a parent. And if people can help her by, you know, sending her whatever they have, you know, to
Yeah.
help her out and kind of, I mean, you know, she's got a lot of shit to deal with now. She's got, you know, her dad is passed, you
Yeah.
know, there's obviously an investigation going on, I hope. Um, you know, and she's got to deal with school. Like I can't imagine what she's going through. So, you know, I would say anybody listening to me on this situation, you know, regardless of how you feel about whether the ICE agent was correct or Keith was correct, you know, whatever happened, like his daughter shouldn't suffer for it. So, you know, help her out.
Yeah, I 100% agree, man. So this is, I want people to really pay attention to this page. So this is GoFundMe as of today. So the name right below his picture, that's the daughter's grandmother. So I don't know if that's his mother exactly, or like, you know, his mom, her
It's
mom.
just her grandmother.
It's her grandmother. So when you guys go on to GoFundMe and you look at this, make sure that name is underneath the picture. This is an actual GoFundMe for him,
Yeah, there's
for his
another.
daughter.
Yeah, you said there's at least one other that's trying to raise money for him,
Yeah,
who's fraudulent.
yeah.
So unless you see this name under the picture, please don't support any other ones because this is the only official one.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for putting an exclamation point on that, Gus. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly right. So you guys just you know, pay attention to that and send her some money if you can. You know, say anything, you know, anything you give her will help her out. Because it is a tragedy, regardless of, you know, whether you look at it or not. And so I'll talk to her. I'll do some more digging on exactly what happened. And because even with everything that's going on with Renee Good, you know, two things can be true, right? And you can still see
absolutely.
that there's disparity in the media coverage that we have on him versus Renee Good. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. You
uh,
know, I mean, you know, I don't want to bring a bunch of other stories, but you know, a few months ago, I think you remember two people got lynched. So they say, you know, one day after the other.
yeah.
You know, and they ruled one a suicide, and the other guy, I guess, was a suicide, but he was white, you know,
Mm,
and people were like, "Oh, another black man." I'm like, you got to pay attention to sources, man. Like, don't just listen to what people say and just go off the cuff and you know bring your feelings into it. Really, really check out stories, and you know, like the first guy, they say he got lynched. You know, other people said the official story is he committed suicide, and it's
mm,
like, yeah, he very possibly could have gotten lynched, but they have video of him going into Walmart and buying rope, you know, and it's
yeah,
like, man, it's a hard, that's a hard call, you know.
yeah,
um so yeah, do your research, you
yeah,
know, but at the end of the day, like I said, this is her real page. You know, consider it a blue check mark, you know, knowing that it's
yeah.
real, and help support this girl.
Yeah, and I'm gonna send them. I'm gonna send her out some money today as well. When I get on, actually, I have linked on another tab, so I'll scoot over there and
Yeah, I'm
send her
gonna
some
drop some
money.
as well. I can't spend a lot, but I'll definitely send
Yeah,
something.
I mean, you know, it's something, man. So just want to let you guys know. So again, I'll post this on my Facebook as well. I think I should be able to. I shouldn't have any problem with the
No, it's
Facebook
just a
link,
link.
right?
Yeah.
Or the okay. So I'll put that on my
From what I
Facebook.
understand, and other people have told me this, I started doing it just to
Mhm.
be certain. Talk about in your post what it's for, and then put the link in the first comment. Apparently, that gets more engagement.
Oh, okay, okay. Put the link in the first
Yeah,
comment.
like
Okay,
don't post
all right.
in your initial comment, because
Mhm.
Facebook sometimes sees that as phishing. And so if you just talk about what it is, even you can even post just the photo and say what it is, and then put the link in the first comment and tell people that the link is in the first comment.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that'll work. Hey, thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
man.
I appreciate it, man.
I research
Yeah,
everything,
dude.
man.
And, yeah, hey, man, you
Yeah,
got to, man. You know,
yeah,
you got to. I appreciate you. I appreciate you
yeah,
coming on, man. So, you know, for those of you guys, you've seen me on Facebook, you've seen
yeah.
Gus and all the other the media platforms that he does have, man. And follow this guy. He's pretty level headed. You know, he knows what he's talking about, and
I
he
like to think
makes
so.
sure that
It's definitely not an uneducated bias.
right. Right.
You know.
I mean, you stay informed, man. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah,
very important, dude. You gotta, you know, you gotta be able to you know, discern information, man, and make your own
yeah,
judgment. So
absolutely.
I see that you're really good at that. So that was one of the reasons why, you know, I had asked
I
you on
appreciate you
and
having
given
me on,
certain
man. I feel like I'm on one of those shows now.
Hey man, I'm thinking honestly though, man. I'm thinking about because I had this attached to I was using Restream from this thing I was doing for Comic Talk to talk about books and movies and stuff like that. But with everything that's going on, man, I mean we're gonna have 3 more years of this, man. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this into a podcast and get on once a week with some people that we can kind of like talk about what's going on, man, and kind of like because I think the climate we're in now, you have more attention around voices that are idiotic and stupid.
For
you know
sure.
what I mean? The people that yell the loudest, even though they're wrong, always get more attention.
I say that all the time, man. It's always the loudest people. If we want to change things, we got to get the quiet people to at least support, if not start speaking up themselves.
Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do is and I don't think because what does Yoda say? Do or do not. There's no try, right? So, I'm going to turn this into a podcast, and I got to come up with a name. I don't know. Maybe I'll call it the Common Sense Podcast, or something like that. We'll come up with a name, man, and we'll do it because I think it's especially in this climate, it's very important that, like Gus said, the quiet people start to speak up and find ways that they can make their voices heard. Because again, like I look at people that invited on here with Gus and Jeff, I do see people from different backgrounds. We can add something positive to the conversation. And so I did reach out to a few other people today, and they obviously gonna come on. So again, thanks to Gus, because I know this was a last minute thing.
Yeah, it was. Man. I got a deadline. I gotta get back to work.
Yeah, you did your due diligence, man. So I appreciate a lot, bud. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. In the future, give me a little bit more time, but hit me up. Let me know what the discussion is, and I'll let you know if I can join or not. So, but I appreciate you letting me speak and having a voice in this.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Now, like I said, I'll put this up on my Facebook account with the information for Keith Porter's GoFundMe, guys. Appreciate you guys checking it out. I'm gonna chop this up into pieces so some of you guys didn't want to sit through the entire time. You'll be able to look at certain timestamps or whatever, because
we jumped around too, so people could jump out of one subject and jump in on another. So
yeah, it happens, man. But I appreciate Gus, and I'll talk to you again soon, man. I appreciate it, buddy.